Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. President Trump's endorsement power tested again. Congressman Thomas Massie falls to a Trump-backed challenger in Kentucky. And a big endorsement ahead of next week's runoff in Texas. Details on the high-stakes primaries. Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivering a direct message to the Cuban people today as the Trump administration moves toward criminal charges against former Cuban President Raul Castro. More than 17,000 people are under evacuation orders in Southern California. An update on the battle to contain the Sandy fire. Lawmakers in the European Union approving a tariff deal with the United States, a move aimed at avoiding a direct trade clash with President Trump.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Wednesday, May 20th. I'm Kevin Hogan. President Trump saying today that he will speak with Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te. A conversation between Trump and Lai would be a significant development in the diplomatic sphere. U.S. and Taiwanese presidents have not spoken directly since Washington shifted diplomatic recognition to Beijing from Taipei in 1979. Here's the president addressing that and the Iran peace deal before heading to New London, Connecticut. Take a listen.
Mr. President, are you going to Taiwan? Do you have any plans to call President Lai before you make your decision on the arms deal?
What?
Do you have any plans to call President Lai of Taiwan before you make a decision on the weapons package?
Well, I'll speak to him. I speak to everybody. We have that situation very well in hand. We had a great meeting with President Xi. It was amazing, actually. It was amazing. Many of you were there. We'll work on that, the Taiwan problem.
What do you make of President Xi meeting with Putin this week?
Well, he told me he was going to. I think it's good. I get along with both of them. But I think it's good. I don't know if the ceremony is quite as brilliant as mine. I watched. I think we topped him. Good team. But no, I get along with Putin. I get along with everybody but your husband and a few others.
On the Iran deal, would you be open to a limited deal that just covered the Strait of Hormuz?
What does that mean?
On Iran, just a limited deal just for a longer ceasefire?
We would have to open the strait. That would open immediately. So we're going to give this one shot. I'm in no hurry. You never think, oh, the midterms, I'm in a hurry. I'm in no hurry. Ideally, I'd like to see few people killed as opposed to a lot. We can do it either way, but I'd like to see few people killed. I just wonder whether or not they have the good of the people, because some of the things they're doing to me means they don't have the good of the people, and they have to have the good of the people. There's a lot of anger now in Iran because people are living so badly. There's a lot of foment that we haven't seen before so much, and we'll see what happens.
What have you said to Prime Minister Netanyahu about Iran and how long to hold off on strike?
He's fine. He'll do whatever I want him to do. He's very, very good man. He'll do whatever I want him to do, and he's a great guy. To me, he's a great guy. Don't forget, he was a wartime prime minister, and he's not treated right in Israel, in my opinion. I'm right now at 99% in Israel. I could run for prime minister, so maybe after I do this, I'll go to Israel, run for prime minister. I had a poll this morning. I'm 99%, so that's good. But no, he's a wartime prime minister, and I just don't think they treat him well. I think they have a president over there that treats him very poorly. And
you're on the same page with him on Iran?
Yeah. We won all races last night, every one of them. And we have a great candidate, I believe, in Texas. And I believe the Texas candidate, who's Ken Paxton, I think he'll win. I think probably he'll win very substantially. And I think he'll go on to defeat a very defective candidate, a candidate that believes in 6 genders, and he takes hits at Jesus Christ, and he's wearing a mask 6 months ago, whereas anybody wearing a mask 6 months ago doesn't get it. And he's a vegan. He's a vegan in Texas, and you can't get elected as a vegan in Texas.
The influence of President Trump continues to impact major elections. Congressman Thomas Massie falling to Trump-endorsed challenger Ed Gallerin in a comfortable victory. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the race.
Former Navy SEAL Ed Galrine thanking President Trump for his endorsement and counsel in his victory speech.
But for the same reason I entered as a Navy SEAL officer in 1983, because I had the audacity to think I could make a difference, and I did. I will serve this district, my party, and my nation with that same audacity to make a difference for them, their families, our district, our party, and our nation. God bless America.
Galrine winning nearly 55% of the vote compared to 45% for Massey, with over 99% of ballots counted.
Now my focus is on advancing the president's and the party's agenda to put America first and Kentucky always.
Massey's ousting underscores Republican voters' support for President Trump. The Kentucky lawmaker was at odds with the president over several issues. He joined Senator Bill Cassidy and several Indiana state senators who were defeated by primary challengers backed by President Trump in recent weeks. After his loss, Massey said he still had the support of young voters.
I mean, we stirred up something. There is a yearning in this country for somebody who will vote for principles over party.
Massey saying his campaign stayed the course despite the pressures of external forces and ran a clean race.
We didn't bend a knee. We didn't throw a foul ball. We didn't do any of those things. We didn't kneecap anybody. We had lots of opportunities to try a lot of stuff like that, and we never did it.
Massey has voted against U.S. aid to Israel and faced accusations of anti-Semitism. He has denied the charges, arguing that he is generally against all foreign aid. The race drew in millions of dollars against Massey from pro-Israel interest groups, including from the Republican Jewish Coalition Victory Fund. President Trump and Massey have had a contentious political relationship for years. In a May 17th True Social post, Trump said Massey must be thrown out of office. The president criticized Massey as the worst Republican congressman in history and urged people in Kentucky's 4th congressional district to vote for Galrine.
The guy's a total disaster, and you know who it is? Thomas Massey. He's the worst.
In 2025, Massey voted against Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, arguing that it increased the national debt. Massey also sponsored a war powers resolution in an attempt to tie the administration's hands in Iran. Galrine will now face Melissa Strange in November's general election. The Cook Political Report rates the district as solidly Republican. And in another Kentucky race, President Trump-backed Representative Andy Barr won his race for Senator Mitch McConnell's seat. Barr thanked President Trump for his trust and confidence, saying he's ready to deliver a major victory for common sense in November. He will now face former Democratic State Representative Charles Booker. The Associated Press called the Republican primary race for Barr at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, an hour after polls closed. Barr won with about 60% of the vote, compared to around 30% for the next closest rival, former Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Aside from Kentucky, 5 other states held primary elections yesterday. President Trump's endorsement also put to the test in Georgia. NTD's Melina Wisecup has the update.
Let's start with Georgia first. So notably in the race for governor, you had Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, who battled with President Trump about election integrity back in the state in 2020, if you remember. So he trailed his challengers by a long shot. Instead, Trump endorsed candidate Georgia Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and billionaire businessman Rick Jackson. We'll go to a runoff in Georgia's gubernatorial primary contest. The two were very close. Jones, the Trump-backed candidate, was at 37%, and Jackson was at 34%, but neither got the 50% of the vote needed to take that win, setting up that June primary. And whoever on the Republican side wins that primary in June will face the former mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, on the Democrat side, who has been endorsed by former President Trump and other prominent Democrats. Now, as for the Senate race in Georgia, Republicans are aiming to flip the seat of Democrat John Ossoff. That race will go to a runoff between former football coach Derek Dooley and Congressman Mike Collins. But it's notable that there was a delay at 2 polls in the busiest areas in Fulton County. They delayed the election night reporting because police had to actually lock down an elementary school there, which led to that pause in voting. And then over in Cobb County, there were technical issues that also led to a delay. in Cobb County. As far as Pennsylvania goes, we see that Democrats keep choosing progressive candidates. For example, you had State Representative Chris Rabb, who won the primary in Pennsylvania's 3rd district. He was endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America and several other prominent progressives like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There were also 2 swing districts in Pennsylvania to watch for that I'll be watching for closely in the general election. That's in the 7th district and the 8th districts. So those are 2 areas that have been flip-flopping between Republicans and Democrats over the past several years. Now, as for Oregon, Republicans have not won a governor's race in that state since 1982, Steph. But Republicans this year think they have a chance if voters are frustrated with crime, homelessness, and affordability in the state of Oregon. So looking for that general election, you have State Senator Christine Drazen. On the Republican side, she'll face the current governor, Tina Kotek, who is seeking a 2nd term in Oregon in November.
South Carolina's Republican-controlled House of Representatives has approved a new congressional map. The redistricting comes as longtime Democratic Representative Jim Clyburn has hold on to his House seat this November. The map still needs approval from the state Senate, where Republicans enjoy a 32-12 majority. The legislation would also postpone the state's primary elections from June 9th to August 18th. Republicans currently occupy 6 of the state's 7 House seats. Both Republicans and Democrats have moved to redraw congressional maps in their states that favor their parties, a process known as gerrymandering. Clyburn has represented South Carolina's 6th congressional district since 1993. The nationwide redistricting fight comes as Republicans seek to maintain their slim majority in the House. Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivering a direct message to the Cuban people today. He says President Trump is offering a new path forward between the U.S. and what he calls a new Cuba.
Una nueva Cuba, donde ustedes, y no solo el Partido Comunista de Cuba, pueda ser dueño de una estación de televisión o de un periódico. Una nueva Cuba, donde pueda quejarse de un sistema que falla sin temor a ir a la cárcel o ser forzado a irse de su isla. Y una nueva Cuba, donde tengan la oportunidad real de elegir a quienes gobiernan su país y votar para reemplazarlos si no están haciendo un buen trabajo. Esto no es imposible. Todo esto existe en las Bahamas, en la República Dominicana, en Jamaica y incluso a tan solo 90 millas en Florida. Si ser dueño de su propio negocio y tener el derecho al voto es posible alrededor de Cuba, ¿por qué no es posible para ustedes dentro de Cuba? En Estados Unidos estamos listos para abrir un nuevo capítulo en la relación entre nuestra gente y nuestros países. Y actualmente, lo único que se interpone en el camino hacia un mejor futuro son quienes controlan su país.
The comments come as the Trump administration is expected to announce criminal charges against former Cuban President Raul Castro today. The move could mark a step up in Washington's pressure campaign against the country's communist regime. At 1 p.m., the DOJ will hold a press conference honoring victims of 2 planes that were shot down in 1996. In February that year, 3 civilian aircraft operated by a Cuban exile organization departed from the Miami area. They were searching for Cubans attempting to escape the island by raft. Cuban fighter jets shot down 2 of the planes, killing all 4 people aboard. Raul Castro was the defense minister at the time. The European Union approves a tariff deal with the United States. It caps duties on most EU exports at 15%. The move was aimed at avoiding a direct clash with President Trump ahead of his July 4th deadline.
Perhaps you know that I'm really a fan of classic rock music, and one of my favorite songs from the Rolling Stones is You Can't Always Get What You Want. But if you try, you will get what you need. And indeed, we got what we need. We need a safety net in the relation with the United States.
The agreement follows months of tense negotiations between Washington and Brussels over the future of transatlantic trade. EU lawmakers had warned they could block the deal amid fierce internal debate across the 27-member bloc. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen originally struck the outline agreement with President Trump last July in Scotland. The deal sets a 15% tariff cap on most European exports, while tariffs on U.S. industrial goods will fall to zero. Coming up, more than 17,000 residents are under evacuation orders in Southern California. An update on the battle to contain the Sandy fire. And new information on how and when the Ebola outbreak in Central Africa may have started. The World Health Organization with new details on the early spread.
So at the age of 5, I was sexually molested. I had my first child at the age of 15 and became homeless at the age of 16. The scariest part about not having a place to live was having a child and not having a place to live and not knowing where our meal was going to come from and where we're going to sleep. To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them. 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference, Covenant House.
Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis.
It was pretty tough. But Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life. They gave me the love that I needed. They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
Your $19 monthly gift is urgently needed to reach other young people who are facing unimaginable situations. Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible. Thank you for caring.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Welcome back. More than 17,000 people are under evacuation orders in Southern California. Firefighters continue to battle the fast-moving Sandy fire near Simi Valley.
Firefighters were challenged initially by rapid fire growth in windy conditions. Sadly, we did have one home that we've confirmed has been destroyed. And while that is only one home, it is the home that belonged to the family that lived here for many years, and a tragic loss for that family. What we saw in this fire was residents who were prepared. They had a plan and knew where they were going to evacuate. They were staying informed and following evacuation orders.
The fire department says the wildfire has burned more than 1,600 acres. Nearly 900 firefighters and multiple partner agencies are working to contain the blaze. The fire erupted Monday in the hills above Simi Valley, about 30 miles northwest of Los Angeles. The fire department says calmer overnight winds helped crews, but stronger gusts are expected to return. As of yesterday evening, the Sandy fire was 5% contained. From coast to coast, Americans are dealing with severe weather. We have more on that now.
It was surreal, to be honest. I've never had it so close to home.
Evacuation orders and warnings continued Tuesday as the Sandy fire torched parts of Southern California for a second day. The blaze, burning in Simi Valley northwest of Los Angeles, started as a fast-moving brush fire Monday. According to CAL FIRE, it had grown to roughly 1,700 acres as of Tuesday night and was just 5% contained. Among the other blazes scorching Southern California, the Verona fire in Riverside County, which officials said had burned more than 400 acres by Tuesday night, with a firefighter suffering minor injuries. There's also the Bain fire in Riverside County. CAL FIRE said it stood at more than 1,300 acres as of late Tuesday. Another fire in San Diego County charred 1,000 acres. The flames in California coming as other parts of the country are still reeling from severe weather. Residents in parts of the central U.S. recovering from days of violent storms, including dozens of reported tornadoes.
Right now, it's just a community effort coming together.
People come together when needed.
Parts of the Northeast dealing with extreme heat.
We say anything's better than snow, but this is a bit ridiculous.
It's technically still spring, but in Massachusetts, summer jumped the gun with a wave of early season heat that prompted warnings in and around Boston.
The Coast Guard rescued a real-life castaway over the weekend. A 67-year-old became shipwrecked on Santa Rosa Island, which is also on fire right now. The island is only about 30 miles off California's coast, but that probably didn't make the situation feel any less dire. Santa Rosa Island is undeveloped, and the fire has burned nearly 17,000 acres. The protected land is only accessible via boat and isn't widely visited, though there is a ferry that goes there. The man crashed his boat onto the island's rocks on Friday, and fire emergency flares and spelled out SOS to signal for help. He was rescued Saturday and did not suffer any injuries. The World Health Organization says the Ebola outbreak in Congo and Uganda may have started a couple of months ago.
As soon as WHO was aware of the signal, support was provided to DRC to investigate as quickly as possible. And this ended up with a confirmation late last week. Investigations are ongoing to ascertain when and where exactly this outbreak started. Given the scale, we are thinking that it has started probably a couple of months ago, but investigations are ongoing, and our priority is really to cut the transmission chain by implementing contact tracing, isolating, and caring for all suspect and confirmed cases.
WHO officials say after the first death on April 20th, a super-spreading event likely followed, either at a funeral or a healthcare facility. On May 12th, an investigation team collected samples, with 8 of 13 samples confirmed as Ebola. The outbreak has alarmed experts because it was able to spread for weeks undetected across a densely populated area. The WHO says Ebola's risk is high at a regional level, but low at the global level. The Trump administration is expanding its response to the Ebola outbreak.
The Trump administration is expanding its response to the growing Ebola outbreak in Central Africa. The State Department says the U.S. is deploying emergency aid, medical teams, and disaster response personnel to help contain the virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. The department saying it has already committed $23 million to support laboratory testing, border screenings, safe burials, and emergency medical operations in affected areas. The administration also announcing plans to help fund up to 50 Ebola treatment clinics across the region. One American infected with Ebola in Congo has now been transported to Germany for treatment.
To Germany because transport is a risk, and this must take place under the strictest safety precautions and protective measures. And you have to, as he is infected and symptomatic, you must always allow that your condition could deteriorate. This means that transport must be as short as possible. In that respect, we are closer in Germany than the U.S. We also have a very well-established system and network of special isolation wards in Germany, and we already have experience in treating people infected with Ebola.
The patient, Dr. Peter Stafford, is a Christian missionary who is working in Congo. That's according to Surge, the international charity he works for. His wife, Dr. Rebecca Stafford, the couple's 4 children, and another physician in Congo are also being monitored. As for the risk in Germany,
The risk of a significant introduction and spread of the virus here is very, very low, as we are very well prepared, too well prepared for that. Our healthcare systems are very efficient.
Updates on the San Diego mosque shooting. The Islamic Center and the local community are remembering the 3 men who were killed on Monday. Investigators say 2 teenage suspects, now deceased, had written a manifesto. NTD's David Lamb has the story.
The community in San Diego mourning and remembering the 3 men who were killed on Monday.
Our security guard, Amin Abdullah, he goes by Amin Abdullah, Brian Climax, such a lovely person. He never stopped smiling.
Police said the 3 men acted as a distraction, luring 2 armed teenagers away from attacking the Islamic Center of San Diego, where 140 children were within 15 feet of the suspects.
You're going to see a visible presence at places of worship throughout our county. Law enforcement is banding together to make sure that there is a feeling of being safe.
Police say at around 9:42 local time on Monday morning, the mother of one of the suspects called saying her son ran from home dressed in camouflage with a companion. She told police she believed he was suicidal and that some of her firearms and her vehicle were missing. Before noontime, there were reports of an active shooter in the Claremont neighborhood. Law enforcement didn't release the names of the shooters, but said it was the mother of the 17-year-old that had called police. Police say the suspects first shot the Islamic Center's security guard. The other 2 victims were taking cover in the Islamic Center's parking lot area after calling 911 when the suspects spotted and shot them. The suspects then fled in a vehicle before police arrived.
And both of them, they tried to do something. They were hiding in the parking lot next to the kitchen. They tried to do something to protect. Mansour Kaziha, our elder, he has been at the Islamic Center for the last 40 years. Anything that goes wrong, he was the handyman, he was the cook, he was the caretaker, he was the storekeeper. He was everything.
Officers found a vehicle where the 2 male suspects, aged 17 and 18, were found dead, believed to have killed themselves.
I can confirm there has been a manifesto that's been recovered. I would reiterate it's early on in the investigation. They didn't discriminate on who they hated. It covered a wide aspect of races and religions.
More than just the Islamic people in that church.
Correct.
The FBI says they're investigating and speaking with family members of the 2 teenagers and will release more details. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
The Justice Department is launching a 15-city national tour aimed at combating anti-Semitism across the U.S. The initiative will be led by the DOJ's Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism, chaired by Leo Terrell. The DOJ says the campaign will encourage reporting of anti-Semitic incidents and strengthen coordination between law enforcement and Jewish communities. The effort will also focus on building interfaith partnerships and addressing anti-Semitism in K-12 schools. According to the Anti-Defamation League, the U.S. recorded more than 6,200 anti-Semitic incidents last year. The Justice Department says the nationwide effort reflects President Trump's campaign to confront anti-Semitism during his 2nd term. The Department of Justice has launched a federal investigation into Washington State's policy of housing male inmates in women's prisons. The DOJ citing potential violations of female prisoners' constitutional rights. The department says it notified Governor Bob Ferguson of the probe into alleged violations at the Washington Correction Center for Women in Gig Harbor. The investigation centers on allegations the facility has failed to protect female inmates. There are accusations of sexual assault, rape, voyeurism, and intimidation by male inmates who say they identify as female. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon says the policy could violate the 8th Amendment protection against cruel and unusual punishment. Washington adopted its policy in 2020. It allows male inmates who say they identify as women to request transfer to female prisons. First Lady Melania Trump is urging the Senate to pass the bipartisan Fostering the Future Act after the House approved the measure unanimously. The First Lady making the appeal.
Thank you, Chairman Smith, Chairman LaHood, Ranking Member Davis, and the House of Representatives for voting unanimously to lift America's foster children above partisan politics. Senators, we have momentum. Now it's your turn to bring the Fostering the Future Act across the finish line. Let's support our next generation and swiftly get this to the President for his signature.
The legislation is designed to improve access to housing and education for young people in foster care who are now transitioning into adulthood. The First Lady saying the act would help address barriers foster youth face, like housing instability, financial challenges, and transportation issues. She says only about 3% of people in the foster care community end up earning a college degree. President Trump joining her at the White House congressional picnic, urging the Senate to pass the act quickly. The annual bipartisan event goes back to 1967 under President Lyndon B. Johnson. He expanded the gatherings that originated with President Harry Truman in 1945. Coming up, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says discussions are underway on strengthening NATO's relations beyond its territory.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire, and how to control the flames. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
My graduation was something I will never forget. People like you and me sometimes may have doubts in ourselves, but I feel that everything's possible.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Good to have you back with us. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte today discussing the reason why NATO needs to have strong relations outside of NATO territory.
Let's not be naive what's happening here. What's happening here is that since basically 2022, we see China and Russia and North Korea and Iran working closely together. It's one of the reasons why in NATO, on the US side, the Canadian side, the European side of NATO, we are conscious of the fact, yes, NATO is a transatlantic alliance. But given the fact that Russia is working together with China, North Korea and Iran, we have to make sure that we have strong relations with partners outside NATO territory. This is one of the reasons why my chief of staff was recently in Japan, why I was myself visiting Japan a year ago, why we have intensive conversations with the Republic of Korea, with Australia, with New Zealand.
Rutte says the gradual reduction of U.S. troops in Europe will happen in a structured way that won't impact NATO's defense plans. Rutte also said discussions about how much the U.S. would contribute to NATO in the event of a crisis had started over a year ago. He described it as a logical response to the increased defense spending by European allies and Canada. A new congressional investigation is warning that China-linked scam centers operating across Southeast Asia are stealing billions from Americans every year, while also fueling human trafficking and cybercrime. Congressional leaders say the operations are becoming more sophisticated and harder to stop. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has the details.
A Chinese government-owned company directly contracted with a criminal organization to construct massive scam center compounds in Southeast Asia.
The House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party releasing a new investigation exposing a network of scam compounds operating across Southeast Asia, all linked to China. Lawmakers say the networks, concentrated in Cambodia, Burma, and Laos, are stealing billions from Americans through online fraud schemes.
Most of these are mysterious messages and phone calls. A text pops up on our phone that says, "How are you doing?" from an unknown number. All too often, the person on the other end of the text is a human trafficking victim locked in a scam compound with instructions to steal as much money from victims as possible.
The committee says that the operations are fueled by Chinese banking networks, cryptocurrency brokers, and shell companies. Now, Chinese state-owned companies are even contracted to build many of these scam centers.
These actors maintain deep ties into China and ultimately colluded with Chinese state-owned enterprises tied to the Belt and Road Initiative, with whom they constructed infrastructure that is now used for industrial-scale scam operations.
Lawmakers say that trafficked workers are often lured with fake job offers, being forced to carry out scams under the threat of violence.
The American grandfather whose retirement is stolen and the trafficked worker beaten inside a scam compound are victims of the same criminal enterprise.
And lawmakers say that these scams have become increasingly sophisticated, using AI, stolen personal data, and fake online identities to target victims across the U.S. Common tactics include fake toll road payment texts and online investment schemes.
90% of his retirement had been stolen. He called local police. They said they did not have the resources to help.
The FBI is reporting nearly $21 billion in scam-related losses last year, which is a sharp increase from the previous year.
Which is likely itself significantly underreported given the stigmas associated with this crime. This is potentially the largest form of financial crime impacting Americans today.
The Trump administration set up the Scam Center Strike Force, which last month seized $700 million from 2 Chinese nationals charged with operating a cryptocurrency investment scam compound in Burma. Committee leaders are now pushing bipartisan legislation called the Dismantle Foreign Scam Syndicates Act. That would create a government-wide task force from all levels of law enforcement against foreign scam networks. For NTD News Washington, I'm Jack Bradley.
The Justice Department announcing indictments against multiple Chinese executives and shipping container companies for price fixing during the COVID-19 pandemic. The department adding that the companies made billions of dollars while many store shelves in the U.S. were empty. NTD's Jason Perry has the latest update.
Officials from the Department of Justice on Tuesday announcing charges against 7 Chinese executives and 4 Chinese shipping container companies, accusing them of violating antitrust laws by fixing the prices of shipping containers, more than doubling their costs during the COVID-19 pandemic, which affected about $35 billion worth of global commerce. Acting Assistant Attorney General Omid Asefi of the DOJ Antitrust Division, saying that collectively, those Chinese companies make up about 95% of the world's standard dry shipping containers.
So in November of 2019, on the brink of the COVID-19 pandemic, the 6 manufacturers entered into a conspiracy to restrict how many standard containers they would all make. This allowed the companies to create an artificial shortage, which enabled them to raise container prices and make more money at your expense.
Adding that they, quote, choked the supply of the containers precisely at the time the world was depending on it most. Asefi also noting that it was not that long ago when store shelves were empty and many Americans could not get the things they needed, while at the same time the profits of one of the defendants in the indictment jumped nearly 100-fold from about $20 million in 2019 to about $1.75 billion in 2021. But before the indictment was unsealed, one of the defendants was in France.
The defendant Vic Ma, a globe-trotting Chinese executive, attempted to fly from Charles de Gaulle Airport to Hong Kong, where he was intercepted by a group of law enforcement officials as part of Operation Midnight in Paris. Thanks to the exceptional skill and dedication of the French National Police and many other law enforcement partners, the defendant never boarded that flight.
Vic Ma is currently pending extradition to the United States to be tried for violating antitrust laws. The Justice Department saying the case demonstrates its commitment to protecting American consumers and businesses from global supply chain manipulation. Jason Perry, NTD News.
President Donald Trump has arrived at the 2026 U.S. Coast Guard Academy graduation ceremony. We'll take a listen.
Coast Guard men and women and their families, and under the President's direction for fighting to successfully fund the Coast Guard and the rest of DHS and ensure that what happened this year never happens again. We will not forget what you did, sir. To the superintendent, faculty, and staff, thank you for forging these men and women into leaders of character who are ready for the call. To the parents, families, and friends, you laid the firm foundation of character and values for these graduates. Their success reflects your enduring love and support. Thank you. To the class of 2026, congratulations. 4 years ago, you arrived as individuals, Americans drawn from across our great United States, including our U.S. territories in Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, and American Samoa. You were joined here by international students from allied and partner nations. Today, as you march out, you do so as a unified team, forged in the crucible and bound together by a shared calling to serve with honor, respect, and devotion to duty. You will serve at a time of historic consequence. The maritime domain is more complex, contested, and more vital to American security and prosperity than ever before. And today, the Coast Guard is in greater demand, and we are delivering proven value and results to the American people. We save lives. We secure and defend our homeland and its maritime approaches, from the borders of the mainland U.S. throughout the Caribbean and the Western Hemisphere, to Alaska and the Arctic, to Hawaii and the 3 territories in the Pacific and in cyberspace. We facilitate commerce through our ports, waterways, and shipping, vital to America's economic prosperity and to rebuilding the nation's maritime might. And we respond to crisis. At the same time, our service is implementing the President's vision to renew the Coast Guard through force design, a generational transformation that's building a new fleet of assets and bringing in the additional men and women who will operate them. Our people are our greatest treasure. And as we build the most advanced ships in the world, they are nothing without their crews and the leaders of character to command them. You are those leaders. You'll soon report to your first units to lead across our operating forces aboard cutters, at sectors, in deployable specialized forces teams, and at Coast Guard Cyber Command. First, though, you will take the oath to support and defend the Constitution that accompanies your military commission. The commission is more than words. It is a direct grant of constitutional authority from our President and Commander-in-Chief to you, and it represents a sacred trust with the American people. As commissioned officers in the profession of arms, you must lead as if your lives depend on it. For certain, the lives of the men and women you lead, their lives will depend on it, and the lives of the American people we serve will depend on it. The Academy has prepared generations of officers, and you have spent 4 years preparing for this moment, and I know you are ready. I am incredibly proud to serve as your commandant. Looking to the horizon, I have certain hope for the future, for there's one thing our distinguished service history proves. With a ready Coast Guard crew and the strong support of the American people, there is nothing we can't accomplish. Semper Paratus. I'm now honored to introduce a distinguished leader who knows what it takes to secure our United States and enable our Coast Guard and the Department to deliver mission success. A fighter who's always in our corner, leading from the front, our Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen.
Thank you, Admiral Lundy, and thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me such an honor to serve in your cabinet at such a historic time. As Secretary of Homeland, it's a very humbling position I find myself in, and I play no games about who is my favorite out of the 22 components. I understand the Coast Guard, you're our first line of defense to protecting the homeland. And our president, our commander-in-chief, he believes in peace through strength. But he also understands that not everybody believes in peace, and some people only respect strength. And because of the great men and women who sit in front of me today, you give our commander-in-chief the options. Because you're the 1%ers. You're the 1% that will stand up and you defend our freedoms, you defend our Constitution, you defend our homeland, you defend our nation. And our commander-in-chief loves you for that. As the 1%ers, the president has made it his obligation plus his mission to fund our military in the way that no other president has done. He's invested millions, in the tunes of $25 billion, actually, to fund the Coast Guard, to bring the Coast Guard back to mission capable, to not just to fit today's missions, but to focus on tomorrow's missions as well. As I stated before, you're the front line protecting our shores. You protect our inland waterways. You're the law enforcement of the water. And our president realizes that. Your commander-in-chief, this isn't his first time to come and speak at this podium. In fact, this is his second time to come speak at this podium. And I'm going to go off my notes a little bit and just talk about the ride over here. He had your Commandant, Lundy, in the Flying Mobile Office, or the Oval Office. And he was bragging about everything from your uniforms to how you guys learn how to swim, to your missions capability, and to the fact that you guys are involved in every mission. And when we're taking down the narco boats to the illegal flag vessels, you guys are involved in it. And it comes with a great sense of pride for me, because I get to call our commander-in-chief also my friend. And for me to stand in front of you today and be able to introduce him to the 1%ers, I take that as one of the greatest honors of my life. So without anybody waiting on me, because I'm never going to get in the way of this guy, let me introduce your Commander-in-Chief, our 45th and 47th President of the United States, Mr. President Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was beautiful. He's a fantastic man. He's a special, very special man. He always has been. And Mark Wayne, thank you. Appreciate it. And hello, cadets. And let me begin by saying a very big congratulations to the class of 2026, special class. It's a true honor to be here on this magnificent day at one of the most prestigious military academies anywhere in the world, and I'm thrilled to become the first president to ever give a second keynote address to this storied institution. I am very proud of that honor. We'll have to try it a third time. We're going to have to try it maybe a third time, too, to keep that record intact. And a few moments from now, every graduate in the field will go forth with a even greater honor, one of the highest distinctions anyone can attain. You'll become commissioned officers in the United States Coast Guard, and our country is hot. This is a great time. Our country is hot. I hate to say it, but I will. A year ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, the last administration, we were a dead country. Right now, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're respected all over the world. You saw that with China just recently. You saw that in Venezuela. You saw that right now in Iran. Everything's gone. Their Navy's gone. Their Air Force is gone. Just about everything. The only question is, do we go and finish it up, or are they going to be signing a document? Let's see what happens. But we're a hot country. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world, with the strongest, most powerful military anywhere in the world, and there's nobody close. I want to thank our new Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen, a fantastic man, for the introduction, along with Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Kevin Lundry. And he is something. He's a special guy. You know, when you get to that position in the Coast Guard, you're very something. I don't have to ask, gee, how good is he? They have to be very good. It goes with the territory. And the President of the Republic of Palau, Surin Gel Whips, Jr., I want to thank you very much. And you're here, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Over the past 4 years, this class has been mentioned by an exceptional team of professors and coaches and military professionals who have shaped you into leaders. You came with very good quality, but they've shaped you nevertheless. And warriors who revere honor and really honor duty. You honor duty like very few others can even think about it. So let's give a big round of applause to the entire faculty and staff that made this possible. And I especially want to thank Academy Superintendent Rear Admiral Greg Rothrock. Come on, get up here, Greg. Come here. He does a hell of a job. You don't want to mess with him. Don't mess around with him. Thank you very much, Greg. Fantastic. Also, your Assistant Superintendent, Captain Jess Razioks. Where is he? Where? Oh, nice. Very nice. Thank you. Commandant of Cadets, Captain Aaron Casabant. Hi, Aaron. How are you, Aaron? Command Master Chief Evan Birch. Evan, where are you, Evan? Good job up here, Evan. It's never easy, Evan, up here, right? You feel more comfortable in the water. And class advisor, Christy Rose. Christy. Thank you, Christy. And of course, where would you be without the wonderful friends and family in the stands? And there are a lot of them here who loved and supported you, and they were with you every single step of the way, and they do love you. They do love you. Sometimes they're not forthcoming with that statement. They're up there. Half of them are crying. Look, their boy, their girl, right? Their boy or their girl. They call him girl, by the way, and they call him boy. And in 30 years, they'll be calling you boy and girl, too. They love you. Your parents and your family, please. To all of the moms and dads, grandparents, and family members here on this joyous occasion, thank you for everything you've done to raise such amazing American patriots. We really appreciate it. What a group. And today is all about the incredible class of 2026 that you've achieved and all of the things that you've achieved and the exciting future that awaits. You have an amazing future. Very soon you'll swap your shoulder boards and you'll join the long blue line of legendary rescuers, seafarers, and service members that fill American hearts with admiration and pride. I've watched it. I've watched you during those hurricanes in Texas, and you got out there and you were going through waves that nobody else would have done. I wouldn't have done it. I would have said, Captain, I'm not feeling too good today. I think I have to take a day off. But you would have none of it. You are really something. I watched it. You saved so many lives. During my first term, we had one of the worst hurricanes ever in Texas and the Gulf. And the bravery that you displayed was incredible. You saved thousands. I think the number was 16,000, 17,000 lives you saved. Through every generation, the heroes of the United States Coast Guard have lived by a creed of honor and bravery and sacrifice that have defied every storm, shipwreck, and every single enemy attack. In the hour of need, our Coast Guardsmen have brought hope to the hopeless and swept the innocent from the jaws of a raging sea, seas like nobody's ever seen before in some cases. Coast Guard warriors piloted the famous Higgins boats and delivered American liberation to beaches of Normandy and sailed through smoke and flame and gunfire to put the Marines and the Guadalcanal very much into play, and they patrolled the distant shores of Manila Bay and Mekong Delta and the Red Sea, and they patrolled them like nobody has ever been able to patrol them before or since. For decades, the men and women of this noble service have repeated an unofficial motto of pure, unyielding courage. It says, you have to go out, but you don't have to come back. That's a statement. You have to go, I think of that, you have to go out, but you don't have to go back. And you know what that means? That means danger, and it's a statement that you live by. This is the unbelievable heroism and exceptional selflessness that lives in the soul of every single cadet on this field, every single one of you. And you've all been tested. You'll be tested further and probably at higher levels as your career goes on, but you've been very strongly tested and you have what it takes. You're America's first defenders. You are America's first responders. You are the living standard bearers of America's first fleet. As your commander-in-chief, I could not be prouder of the great class of 2026. Congratulations. Congratulations. Amazing. And I'd have no doubt to say, and just like those Coast Guard legends who came before you, you will always put America first. We put America first now. We haven't done that for a long time, but we do that under the Trump administration, I will tell you. And the whole world is saying, well, America's first, and they put America first. And we help others too, but we put America first. 4 years ago, most of the cadets here today could have gone to almost any school that you wanted. It's so hard to get into the Coast Guard. I had so many people, sir, could you get my son? He wants to go to the Coast Guard Academy. And I look at the son, I say, he's not going to make it. Terrible. I lost a lot of friends. But every once in a while, I'll call up with somebody outstanding, and they'll generally take care. If they don't take care, they're fired. So, you know, they have no choice. But you really have outstanding people coming in. But you chose New London. You chose Cape May. You chose Kodiak Island. You chose the great service of God and country in the U.S. Coast Guard. And it was the best decision of your lives. One of the great decisions. You will say it. It's hard to say it now, but you will say it as time goes by. This will be the best decision of your life where you decided to learn, go to school in this incredible, beautiful place. You came as strangers and American teenagers. You leave as officers, American warriors, and friends forever. You're always going to be friends with each other, hopefully with me. Today, this field is full of some of the smartest minds, the toughest athletes, and the most tenacious leaders our nation has to offer. It really is. It is very hard to get into this particular place. It is very, very hard. It is a lot of broken hearts. People don't do it. Good people, smart people, they can't quite make it. Many of you have excelled academically, but 49 cadets have studied longer and harder than anyone else. The very accomplished Coast Guard Academy scholars. Would you please stand? These are the really brilliant people. You're all brilliant, but these are perhaps slightly more brilliant. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty. Never feel guilty about success, right? But I think it's great. And at the top of your class with the highest score in both military and academic achievements is distinguished graduate Matthew Lanzillotta. Where is he? Where is he? Come here. Get up here. Come on. Come on, get up. Get up here. I want to see this guy. I hate good-looking men. Very good. Matthew, that's great. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. We also have the only cadet who earned a perfect score on every single fitness test. Now we're talking fitness. Do you know who this is already? Wow, this guy must be something. I think we'll have to invite him up. I want to check it out. For the last 4 straight years, which they think may be an all-time record, congratulations to Thomas Rhodes. Thomas, get up here, please. I want to see. I want to check him out. Whoa. Oh, we're not going to fight with him. I'm not fighting him. This is not UFC. Please understand that, Thomas. Look at this guy. Look at the muscles on this guy. Just hit him on the shoulder. I hurt my hand. It's like hitting a rock. That's great. Thomas, that's fantastic. Another member of this class is making history as well today. Mike Keddish becomes the first Coast Guard Academy graduate to ever go straight from the Corps of Cadets into the Coast Guard Special Forces. So what was that all about? Come on up here. Come on. Let's go. Come on up here, Mike. I want to see what these guys... I like to see, what these guys are like. Because, you know, it's competition for me, too. I have to compete with you now. I'm not liking that. How are you? Fantastic. Wow, that's a big achievement. These are special people. Thank you very much, Michael. For the past 4 years, you've been led by your brilliant class president, Savannah Riera. Where is she? Hey, Savannah. Where are you, Savannah? Where are you, Savannah? Where's Savannah?
To your left, sir.
Savannah, come on up here. I have to. If I didn't invite her up, they'd accuse me of discrimination. That would not be. I'd be, ladies and gentlemen, the president got sued today. Savannah, come on up. I have to get her up here, and she looks so fantastic. This is ridiculous. Nothing like having a little fun. Do you agree? This is your big day. We got to get Savannah up here. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Savannah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Savannah. Well, this class has also been blessed with many tremendous athletes, including the Academy's all-time leader in receptions, yards, and touchdowns, wide receiver, Brooke Desta. Where's Brooke? Wow. That's a pretty good record, Brooke. I'll let you come up if you want. You want to come up? Come on up here, Brooke. Come on. You can see they want you up here, Brooke. So do we have a little NFL future here, maybe? I don't know. Usually that can happen when you're leading by that much. That's a lot of achievement. Thank you. You know, we've made it possible. I did this. We made it possible for people like Brooke that really have a great ability at sport, and in some cases will be drafted by the NFL or have a chance of getting into the NFL or baseball or basketball or whatever it might be. The problem is they had to serve, as you know, they had to serve 5 years, and that's not exactly conducive to being drafted very high if you had to go away. So I made a decision in my first term, and we adhere to it very strongly, that when somebody has the ability to go into Coast Guard or West Point, Annapolis, Air Force, any of them, if you have a student with extreme ability that gets drafted and can play in professional football, we allow you to go immediately, and you serve your time in the Coast Guard or whatever after your professional career is over. And it has made such a difference. It's also made a big difference in recruiting. That's why your teams are better today than they used to be. So I make these little contributions. I don't know if people know I made those contributions, but so Brooke, I want 25% of everything you earn. Thank you, Brooke. I appreciate it. So it's a little bit of a help, but it actually, what we didn't expect, it made your recruiting much better, because you're able to now recruit the top people that really have a chance of getting into professional sports, and one of the reasons you have such good teams. We also have your all-time leader in points in the assist for women lacrosse, Abby McAllister. Abby? Abby? Where are you, Abby? Stand up, Abby. Oh. Are you that good, Abby? Do you want to come up, Abby? Come on, Abby. Come on up, Abby. See, we throw them a little off on timing when I do this, but what the hell? We have time, right? This is your day. And when somebody achieves with these people, we should give them a little extra recognition, right? That's a tough sport, Abby. I don't know. I'm not going to mess with you. That's great. That's a big record. Thank you, Abby. Of course, there are those of you who have made your mark on the school in many other ways, like the mayor of the class, Freddie Wheaton, the founder of Phi Kappa Granny, Evan Granahan, and the leader of the Esports Club, Aiden Roskowski. They've done a great job. That's good. That's also called leadership. While everyone has worked and studied hard, some may have spent a little bit too much time at a place called Mr. G's. I don't know what Mr. G's is. I don't know what it is, but I don't like the sound of this. I'm not. Where am I going with this one? But we want you all to have a clean slate as you begin your careers. So, therefore, Mr. Superintendent, I hereby absolve all cadets who are on restriction for minor conduct infractions and even somewhat major infractions, effective immediately. Okay? You guys, you got away with murder. I was just in a good mood. I was in a very good mood to do that. Every branch of our armed forces protects American lives, but the Coast Guard is the only service explicitly dedicated to saving them. You're saving lives. You never leave an American behind, and you never would. In the past year, our Coast Guard heroes have saved over 5,200 lives at least and helped carry out and carry over 19,000 people to safety. Amazing. One of the special cadets in this class has already saved his first life during his first-class summer, providing life-saving care to the person in distress off the coast of Alaska. Job well done. That's Mason White. Mason, thank you. Stand up, please. Thank you. Thank you, Mason. Great job. That was early on, right? And that was a great job. Thank you very much. When you leave here today, every cadet on the field will be stepping into a critical role in the defense of our country to protect our maritime infrastructure. 12 of you will be going to Coast Guard Cyber Command. That's a big deal. 20 are heading to Coast Guard Flight School. 23 will join Prevention and Response, and a whopping 181 cadets will become afloat officers in a fleet, because, as you like to say, underway is the only way, and that's a pretty cool statement. And, you know, I don't know if you know this, but I was telling your leaders before that we have 11, you know, we're way down on icebreakers, and we've ordered 11. We're working with Finland. They make icebreakers. They make the best icebreakers. We're going to learn everything we can learn. We're going to shortly make them ourselves. But we're making, right now, currently under construction, we have 11 beautiful. And I said, come on, when's the first one coming? They said, in 28. I said, I'm going to be here in 28. Maybe I'll be here in 32, too. I don't know. Maybe I will. But I'm going to be here in 28. And I'll tell you, I said, that's great, because I'm going to be there at the dedication. They have been trying to get icebreakers for years and years, and no president was able to provide them with what you need to get it done. And I want to thank the country of Finland, because they are known to make the best icebreakers. And I thought, going there, for starters, you know, we tried making one, but it was too front heavy. It wouldn't have worked, because an icebreaker has to come crashing down. And when the front weighs 4 times more than the back, bad things happen. So I realized we didn't know what the hell we were doing. I went to Finland and was with the president of Finland, and we worked out a deal. And we're making 11 total. Some of them are going to be made right here. We're going to learn the craft, and we're going to have so many icebreakers. You know, Russia has 48, and we have one very old one. It's ridiculous. And we have the whole Arctic. We have the whole region. And we're going to have a whole big fleet very shortly, and they're starting to come in a very quick fashion. After that, we're going to go way up higher. We'll have at least 55 within a short period of time, so that'll be great. And you're going to be operating them and running them, and it's probably another category. The class of 2026 is graduating at an incredible, exciting time for our nation and the Coast Guard in particular. As you enter the office corps of the greatest military in the history of the world, our national strength is back. Our morale is back. We are a confident country again. We have confidence is back. And above all, America is back, bigger and better and stronger than ever before. We have a strong, great, respected country again. We went off course. We went very sadly off course. For years, Washington, D.C. was run by foolish politicians who thought they could defy the laws of world history, violating every common sense principle, for preserving national power and national security. And they surrendered our industrial capacity to other countries, crippled our energy production, threw open our borders. We had borders with they were open borders, they called them. People came in totally unchecked and unvetted. You know how many people over 4 years in the last term? 25 million people. They came in as murderers. They were coming in from other countries. They came in from prisons. They were drug dealers. They came in from mental institutions and insane asylums. They allowed them to just flow into our country. We're getting them out. We've got a lot of them out. 11,888 murderers. Think of that. 50%, or more than 50%, committed more than one murder. They were allowed in our country. We can never forget the sins of what they did to our country, but we're getting them out. In fact, we've gotten them to the extent that we just had the best crime numbers in history. The best crime numbers, meaning the lowest crime numbers in history, were just last month released. Lowest number of murders since the year 1900, 125 years. So what they did to us is terrible, but we're getting it back into shape really properly. And now we went from the worst border in history to the strongest border we've ever had. In 11 months, not one illegal alien was able to get into our country. When you think of that, that's pretty amazing. And they can come in, but they have to come in legally. They have to come in through a process. They have to love our country. They have to show us that they can love our country, not that they want to blow up our country. I think that everybody agrees with that. Under this administration, we don't apologize for American power or wealth. What we do really is we want to maximize it. We take advantage of it. We unleash it. And we wield it to pursue our country's glorious destiny and our beautiful American dream. We have the American dream back. You didn't hear about the American dream too much for 4 years, and now the American dream is back. This is truly the golden age of America. We are in now the golden age. We have more production, more people. We have more people working today than at any time in the history of our country by far. We have more people having great jobs today than at any time in the history of our country. Our country is respected all over the world. The men and women of the Coast Guard have a vital role to play in this resurgence. This is a great resurgence. We have $18 trillion being invested in the United States. That's many, many times more than ever before. In fact, you'd have to go back more than 10 years. Another country a long time ago had $3 trillion. We have $18 trillion. The last administration for 4 years had less than $1 trillion. We have $18 trillion being invested in our country in 11 months because the numbers for the 12th have not come up, so that's going to increase it yet further. So that's an honor. It's a great honor. To me, that's something special. We're building plants, auto plants, every kind of plant you can imagine all over the country, and they're coming in from Canada. They're leaving other countries. They stole our auto business. They stole our chip business. We'll have close to 50% of the chip business by the time I leave, and right now we have none practically. And we'll have, it was taken by other places. It was taken by Taiwan. I'm not knocking them. I'm saying if they can get away with it. But if you had the right president, that would have never happened. It wouldn't have been allowed to have happened. You would have put tariffs on and you say, that's okay, you can steal our business. But if you're going to sell, if you think you're selling those chips back into us with no tax, you can forget it. And if we did that, we wouldn't have lost those businesses, the autos, the chips, the semiconductors, all of that would be here, but it's all pouring back into our country right now because of the word tariff. As you know, one of my favorite words, I got into big trouble. I said, this is my favorite word in the dictionary, my favorite word, the word tariff. And the fake news, look at all of them back there. They said, what about God? What about wife, family? What about other things like Bible? So I was in deep trouble because I said tariff is my favorite. So I made it number 5, and now I'm okay. Now I'm okay. They think I'm kidding, by the way. They gave me a hard time. But with your help, we're reasserting one of the most time-honored principles of our national security, that the American dominance in Western Hemisphere will not be threatened under any circumstance. As an example, We will not let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. It's very simple. We will not let that happen. And we have great support. You wouldn't know that by reading the fake news, but we have great support. People don't want them to have a nuclear weapon, and they will not have a nuclear weapon, and they want to make a deal so badly. We'll see what happens, but we hit them very hard. But we may have to hit them even harder, but maybe not. But we're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon and blow up the entire Middle East, Israel, the entire Middle East, and then come here for you. Not going to happen. So just as no family can be truly secure in a violent neighborhood, we will not allow chaos, instability, or danger to fester in America's own backyard. We're not going to let it happen. One of the reasons we have Mark Wayne, and one of the reasons that I feel so good about things, he's a tough cookie. You know, he was a great fighter, too. A great fighter. He was a tough cookie and a very successful fighter. His sons are all-American fighters, so they have good genetics in that family. But Mark Wayne is a tough guy with I always say he's a tough guy with a great heart. And that's a good combination. So from the Gulf of America to the frozen waters of the Arctic, from the shores of Havana to the banks of the Panama Canal, we will drive out the forces of lawlessness and crime and foreign encroachment, just like we've been doing. You know, we have only 3% coming in. We were getting tremendous, you would understand this because you were involved in this, we're having tremendous amounts of drugs brought in by sea, by ocean, by water. And a tremendous amount. And we've now reduced that to 3%. So it was a big percentage, and now it's all the way down to 3%. And we've hit them very hard, as you know. Not that it's something we wanted to do. And we never miss. We never miss. We hit them very hard. And actually, people are trying to figure out who are the 3% because they happen to be the bravest people perhaps anywhere in the world. The 3% that's left, but I don't even think they have 3%. We virtually stopped it. And now we're going to stop the drugs coming in by land, and that's the easy one to do. That's the easy one. I want to thank the Coast Guard because you've been unbelievable in that endeavor. Think of it. We had a majority of drugs were coming in by the sea, by the ocean, and we have virtually stopped that. And now for the easy part, the land, much easier, and it will be equally quick. And we are going to have drugs are down by 61%, but we want to get them down to almost nothing because they've destroyed so many families, so many people, so many lives. Our Coast Guard cutters are elite tactical teams where the pivotal is enforcing our successful blockade. And you just have to see this. We have a blockade that's, they call it the wall of steel. Nobody goes through them. And you're a big part of it. Nobody goes through them. The Navy, the Coast Guard. We have ships that tried to go through, and they're saying young captains from Coast Guard Academy, the Naval Academy, Annapolis, and they say, do not proceed further. They have the greatest loudspeaker system, much better than this one, let me tell you. It goes over the water, it bounces on the water, and you have this young, handsome captain saying, do not proceed further. You are in enemy territory. Do not proceed further or we will shoot. And you have a ship that's like 2 football fields long that carries 2 million barrels of oil. Think of that, 2 million barrels. And on occasion, they'll try and disobey. And last week you saw one shot, not a missile shot, a bullet, a very large bullet. A bullet from 4 miles hit the rudder of the ship, and the rudder of the ship fell into the ocean. It was a beautiful thing to see. It just fell in. I said, what the hell kind of a shot was that? And the man said, no, we are going back to Iran. See, now I say Iran. I don't use because he obviously has a correct pronunciation. We will go back to Iran. And it took, with a broken rudder, with the rudder that was laying at the bottom of the sea, it took 10 miles just to turn that ship back. But nobody violates it, nobody. And I was with, as you know, President Xi of China 2 days ago. We had a tremendous meeting, very successful meeting. And he agrees our military is phenomenal. I don't want to go beyond that, but I will tell you he respects our military tremendously. Our military is respected. We have, as I said, the greatest military anywhere in the world, and we're going to keep it that way. We have a budget this year of $1.5 trillion. That's the biggest budget we've ever had. That includes the Coast Guard. Don't worry about it. Look, they're getting a little bit concerned. Don't worry, it includes you. You're going to have so many Coast Guard cutters, you're not going to know what to do with them. You'll have a cutter that's 2 years old. You say, Captain, I want the new one. Didn't used to be that way. But we have a lot of money coming your way, you know that. Because of these people and people like them, they made a great case for it, and I'm a big fan. So, we take care of it while I'm here, because we're going to take care of the Coast Guard like you wouldn't believe. And in a flawless, thank you. And in a flawless operation last January, supported by the Coast Guard, America's armed forces captured the outlaw Nicolas Maduro and brought him back to American justice. He's awaiting trial from Venezuela, an attack that took less than 1 day. And it was an amazing, I think it's one that's going to be studied for a long time. Great, smart country, very tough military country, but it really took 48 minutes and 13 seconds to be exact, but let's give it 1 day. And he's now awaiting trial. And now we have a great joint venture with Venezuela. We have millions of barrels of oil coming into Houston and coming into parts of Texas and Louisiana and Alaska. And it's been an amazing thing. You know, Venezuela used to be a really great country 20 years ago. Then it went the wrong way. It went the way they'd like to take this country. Some lunatics would like to take this country way, way left and destroy it. But we're not going to let that happen. We're not letting that happen. This service has also been really the center of the battle to restore sovereign borders for the United States and keep drugs and criminals out of our country, and we're keeping them out. Since I took office, the Coast Guard has seized over 206 million lethal doses of illicit narcotics, the most in the history of our country, enough to kill a country, a large country, many, many times over. And you've seized it, and you seize it constantly, and you don't play games. Last August, the Coast Guard cutter Hamilton interdicted 76,000 pounds of illegal drugs, the largest Coast Guard drug bust of all time, largest ever. And I'm telling you, the Coast Guard has always been good, but you've stepped it up even beyond that. 5 cadets graduating today were part of that historic action. And I'll mention their name. Elliot Coles, stand up, Elliot. Jenna Lewandowski, Piper Stevens, Hannah Warner Kay, and J.J. Banek Gebel. Thank you. Great job. Thank you very much. The Coast Guard has also played an important role in Operation Epic Fury to ensure that the Iranian regime never obtains a nuclear weapon. Just 2 months ago, off the Coast Guard at Malaysia, a highly trained U.S. Coast Guard tactical team helped seize a sanctioned Iranian oil tanker that had been used to transport over 1 million barrels of oil from Karg Island into the coffers of Iran. We don't want that to happen. This is the 3rd sanctioned Iranian vessel the Coast Guard has helped capture since we began the fighting, the real fighting with Iran, and many more to come, I suspect, unless they get smart. Everywhere you go, you say, never forget. You represent the most righteous, successful, and exceptional nation in all of history, and you were really put in a position where you wear the uniform, the most powerful military ever to sail the seas. You are right now at the pinnacle of this nation. You are at the pinnacle. 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I couldn't have said that. I wouldn't have been up here, but I couldn't have said that. You were not at the pinnacle at all. Right now, you're at the pinnacle of the Coast Guard, at the pinnacle of the military, and that military includes the Coast Guard will soon be stronger and more powerful than ever before with all of the things we've done. Last year, I signed a record-setting $25 billion investment in the Coast Guard, including funding for 22 new cutters, 40 new search and rescue helicopters, 25 state-of-the-art icebreakers, and we're also providing $380 million for renovations and improvements right here at the Academy. The Academy is going to be so beautiful. It's already beautiful, frankly, but it's going to be tippy-top, as I say. It's going to be perfect. Under our leadership, this service is seeing more action than at any time in many decades. I would say at any time, period. You've never seen what is happening. And the Coast Guard, as good as it has been, has never seen what's happening to it right now. And the spirit has never been higher. And I think we can say that. It starts with the leadership. But I think the spirit with the Coast Guard has never been higher than it's been right now. And I got to know a couple of people over the last 2 weeks from the Coast Guard, and I can see why. These are incredibly brilliant people, good people. I have to say, I don't want to give them any ideas, but in the private sector, they'd be making a lot of money. And you know what? They wouldn't trade what they're doing. Would you guys trade for millions a year? Maybe. Maybe. No, you wouldn't. I don't think you would. A lot of people would like to be in your position that are doing very well, believe me. In the 4 years before I took office, the Coast Guard recruitment missed targets by 20 and 25 and 30%, the targets, the recruitment targets. And not only you, the Marines, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, that's my baby. I started a Space Force. I was very happy. It's going to turn out to be one of the most important of all. But you miss your recruitment numbers, and it was an embarrassing time. Not only the military, the police, firemen, anybody with a uniform, they didn't want to be associated with our country, frankly. And last year, the Coast Guard beat its recruitment goals by 120%. And we have so many people wanting to get into the Coast Guard and all levels of the military now that weren't even thinking about it. To me, it's one of the most exciting things. When I first came, we had the election on November 5th, and it really started from the day of the election. But we had the election on November 5th. But I will tell you, before that, you couldn't recruit people to go into the military. Nobody wanted to be there. They were trying to reduce standards. Now the standards, I hate to say, are through the roof. But now we have lines of people wanting to get into every group of, whether it's the Navy, the Coast Guard. And I will tell you, I looked at the numbers, the Coast Guard in particular, you have exceeded your numbers. You have a waiting list that's a mile long of people that want to get in. So I think I have to say congratulations on that. You know, it's a really big deal. And by the end of my term, we are adding 15,000 new Coast Guardsmen. And we're going to have them added to the list because of all the new equipment that we've ordered. And it's a true honor to be your commander-in-chief. I mean, I'm looking at you. I'm glad to get to shake hands of a few of your outstanding people. But every one of you are outstanding. You're in a category that's really very unique, very hard to be, very hard to get there. Now you know, even by the recruitment numbers, you know it is. But beyond that, it's just a very special group of people. And you are a very special group of people. As you begin your important new missions and your mission in life, today let me leave you with a few words of advice to maybe help you a little bit on your way. First, most important, never, ever give up. Never give up. They ask me, how do you be successful, sir? Starts with never give up. I've learned a lot about life, but the one thing I've really learned is that perseverance, never quitting, never giving up is a big deal. You'll be right there, right at the gate. And you've seen it. You've seen it in sports. You've seen it. They're right there at the gate and they give up. Never give up. And whatever happens, no matter where you are in life or what situation you find yourself in the seas or anywhere else that you may be, keep pushing forward. Always push forward. Never stop pushing forward. No matter how terrible the storm, no matter how difficult the mission, never surrender. Keep going, keep fighting, and make the adversary quit first. Let them quit. They're going to quit if you keep going. Second, at this pivotal time of transformation for our armed forces, you have to think big. It's much better thinking big. Small solutions yield small results. Only big ideas will yield to tremendous change and greatness. Americans do not want to live in a world ruled by someone else's big ideas. Live in a future and shape your future. And you want to dominate your future, and you want to dominate it for your great military and for your country. Think big. During the course of your Coast Guard careers, it will be time for incredible change and Change is going to happen, change that we can't even think of right now. The things will happen, and I believe for the best, hopefully for the best, but I believe for the best. But things will happen that you can't even imagine, and it's going to be very exciting. But the way that's going to happen is through thinking big. Nothing great was ever built. Think of that. Nothing great was ever built without the word momentum at your side. In times of your life, you'll have momentum. That's the time you go for it. I tell stories about people that lost their momentum and they went and it didn't work out well. You know when you're doing well. You know when you have that positive momentum. So take that momentum and go for it. So many people, they wait the wrong time. You know when it's right. Go with the momentum. The towering men and women of history have always been people of action. You answered the call to serve, and now you need to make sure that most of your time is spent on very important roles in life. You've done a lot, and you've had a lot of relaxation. Frankly, if you enjoy what you're doing, there's no such thing as work. It's not work. What you're doing, I would say with most of you, it's not work. What you've done is a lot of work, but it's not work. It really isn't. It's a great pleasure. I find myself, I work a lot. They say he's a workaholic. I'm not a workaholic. It would be tough if I didn't do things. If I didn't do things, I don't know what I'd be doing. It probably wouldn't be good. But you got to love it. And if you love it, it's never considered work. There will always be time for taking the easy path. And there'll be times when you want to do that or to settle for maybe a short-term fix. But for the best results, it'll always be a product of unbelievably hard work. That's why I always sign something. They say, oh, could you put something on? I say, work hard. To a young person, work hard. Because you have to work hard. It's so competitive. Life is so competitive. You have to work hard. It's never going to come easy. You have to work hard. A lot of great athletes, they say, the harder it work. I remember Gary Player, a great golfer. He was somewhat smaller than other great athletes. And he said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. That was the first time I heard it. I've heard that expression a lot, but the first time was from the great Gary Player, one of the top 3 golfers of all time. And he said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. It's a great expression. Fourth is you go into life, and right here at the Coast Guard, you want to keep your eyes in the boat. You want to have your eyes in the boat. You know what that expression means better than anybody. Do not be distracted by what's outside. You just want to look back, and you want to just see what's happening, but keep your eyes in the boat, a Coast Guard expression. Focus on the task before you and move forward. Always, always move forward, never move back. Remember, what actually matters and pursuit of success is, it really has to be relentless. You've got to be relentless. And many of you are relentless. You wouldn't be here if you weren't, because there are 10 people for every seat that I'm looking at, 10 people, and I think even more than that, that wanted that seat, and you made it. So finally, you have to be strong. You have to be really strong, and I don't mean just with muscle strength. I mean with mental strength, and you have to be brave. In your profession, you have a level of bravery that has to supersede a normal person's bravery, but that's why you're here. America was not founded by weak and timid men or women who cowered in the face of evil or sat by as danger loomed. As President Theodore Roosevelt said, freedom is not a gift that lasts long in the hands of cowards and weak people. Today, our country faces the threats that are very strong, but we have a much stronger country today than we had 2 years ago. Today, the threats that looked really bad 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we had a country that was rudderless, just like that ship that had its rudder shot off. We have a country now with very strong, powerful rudders. But every one of you has your soul, the strength and courage to face whatever comes before you. You're going to do unbelievably well. I mean, just have no idea. I look at audiences all the time, but I'm looking at this audience. It's just an incredible group of people, a beautiful, beautiful, brilliant group of people. So you're brave and you're bold and you're always ready to go, and you inherit the legacy of some of the most daring and intrepid Americans ever to live. You are inheriting the mantle of some of the bravest people, some of the most incredible warriors ever, right here. a tradition of pride and glory and greatness passed down from one generation to the Coast Guard heroes to the next. You had great heroes. In World War II, the Coast Guard was the first branch of the military to seize a Nazi vessel and take enemy prisoners. The first one to do it was the Coast Guard. The first branch to traverse the Northwest Passage and the first to sail a ship right up the middle of the frigid seas to the North Pole. You were the first. You were the first to do so much. And that's not going to change. And now you have equipment. I think we can say definitely when all that new equipment comes in, Admiral, you have equipment the likes of which the Coast Guard has never had before. So you'll have many ships sailing up instead of one. You're going to be doing things that nobody even thought possible. You have on order, some of it's already delivered, but you have on order the best equipment anywhere in the world. There's no other Coast Guard, there's no other, frankly, Navy that has anything like what's coming your way. On September 11th, 2001, amid the rubble, dust, and debris, it was the Coast Guard that organized the largest boat lift in all of history, evacuating 500,000 people from lower Manhattan. That was a terrible day. The gleaming white hulls and the blazing red stripes of your cutters have sliced through the horizon of nearly every major waterway on Earth. Every day, Coast Guard members plunge into pitch-black oceans, rush onto roaring surfs, and do battle with Mother Nature at her absolute worst. Mother Nature like few can imagine it even exists. And I've seen it. I've seen things that I said, nobody's going into that storm, and you guys go into it like it's just another day of work. You fly into gale force winds, smash into 50-foot waves, storm into floods of fire and shrapnel, and swarm through water so cold that it will snap a ship in half with just the wrong hit of a wave. But your fellow Americans, and above all, you're from the Coast Guard. There's nothing, absolutely nothing, that a Coast Guardsman cannot do. There really isn't. I've seen so much. I mean, as president, I've just seen so much. I've seen people that were going to be decimated, that were going to be destroyed in sea. I told you about some of the hurricanes. They were out at sea. They were boating, and they got caught. They wanted to go a little closer, a little closer, a little closer, and then they got gobbled up by nature. And the only way they could have survived was what you people were able to do. You went in there, and you got them. It wasn't easy. It was very dangerous. No matter how perilous the task, you're unafraid, and you're just an unstoppable force, and you want to stay that way. The U.S. Coast Guard has never, ever let us down. And with men and women like the great class of 2026, I know that will never happen. You're going to go on to greatness, the likes of which even the Coast Guard has not seen. So wherever the duty calls, whatever danger comes our way, you will fight, 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 and you will win, win, win. I want to just say a very strong God bless the Coast Guard Academy, the class of 2026. God bless the United States military, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Have a great, great, and stellar career. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
That was President Trump attending the U.S. Coast Guard Academy graduation ceremony in New London, Connecticut, congratulating the cadets now becoming officers. He says these are some of the smartest, toughest, and most tenacious members of society, and that they have saved 5,200 people last year, and that one of the cadets actually saved his first person, and that was Mason White, saving a person off the coast of Alaska. And DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, introducing President Trump, says that the Coast Guard was involved in taking down those narco-terrorist drug boats and dealing with illegally flagged vessels. And President Trump says the Coast Guard has played a role in Operation Epic Fury in blocking the ships that are supporting Iran. And this is the first president to give the second keynote address at the ceremony. And if you have any feedback on the show or have something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at news.today@ntd.com. For round-the-clock original news coverage, watch us live at ntd.com/TV or download our NTD app. I'm Kevin Hogan. Stay tuned.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. President Trump's endorsement power tested again. Congressman Thomas Massie falls to a Trump-backed challenger in Kentucky. And a big endorsement ahead of next week's runoff in Texas. Details on the high-stakes primaries. Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivering a direct message to the Cuban people today as the Trump administration moves toward criminal charges against former Cuban President Raul Castro. The Southern Poverty Law Center under scrutiny in Congress. Takeaways from a House committee hearing after the organization was indicted on federal charges.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Wednesday, May 20th. I'm Kevin Hogan. President Trump saying today that he will speak with Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te. A conversation between Trump and Lai would be a significant diplomatic development. U.S. and Taiwanese presidents have not spoken directly since Washington shifted diplomatic recognition to Beijing from Taipei in 1979. Here's the president addressing that and the Iran peace deal before heading to New London, Connecticut. Take a listen.
Mr. President, are you going to do you have any plans to call President Lai before you make your decision on the arms deal?
What?
Do you have any plans to call President Lai of Taiwan before you make a decision on the weapons package?
Well, I'll speak to him. I speak to everybody. We have that situation very well in hand. We had a great meeting with President Xi. It was amazing, actually. It was amazing. Many of you were there. We'll work on that, the Taiwan problem.
What do you make of President Xi meeting with Putin this week?
Well, he told me he was going to. I think it's good. I get along with both of them. But I think it's good. I don't know if the ceremony is quite as brilliant as mine. I watched. I think we topped them. Good team. But no, I get along with Putin. I get along with everybody but your husband and a few others.
On the Iran deal, would you be open to a limited deal that just covered the Strait of Hormuz?
What does that mean?
On Iran, just a limited deal just for a longer ceasefire?
We would have to open the strait. That would open immediately. So we're going to give this one shot. I'm in no hurry. You never think, oh, the midterms, I'm in a hurry. I'm in no hurry. Ideally, I'd like to see few people killed as opposed to a lot. We can do it either way, but I'd like to see few people killed. I just wonder whether or not they have the good of the people, because some of the things they're doing to me means they don't have the good of the people, and they have to have the good of the people. There's a lot of anger now in Iran because people are living so badly. There's a lot of foment that we haven't seen before so much, and we'll see what happens.
What have you said to Prime Minister Netanyahu about Iran and how long to hold off on strike?
He's fine. He'll do whatever I want him to do. He's very, very good man. He'll do whatever I want him to do, and he's a great guy. To me, he's a great guy. Don't forget, he was a wartime prime minister, and he's not treated right in Israel, in my opinion. I'm right now at 99% in Israel. I could run for prime minister, so maybe after I do this, I'll go to Israel, run for prime minister. I had a poll this morning. I'm 99%, so that's good. But no, he's a wartime prime minister, and I just don't think they treat him well. I think they have a president over there that treats him very poorly.
You're on the same page with him on Iran?
Yeah. We won all races last night, every one of them, and we have a great candidate, I believe, in Texas, and I believe the Texas candidate, who's Ken Paxton, I think he'll win. I think probably he'll win very substantially, and I think he'll go on to defeat a very defective candidate, a candidate that believes in 6 genders, and he takes hits at Jesus Christ, and he's wearing a mask 6 months ago, whereas anybody wearing a mask 6 months ago doesn't get it. And he's a vegan. He's a vegan in Texas, and you can't get elected as a vegan in Texas.
The influence of President Trump continues to impact major elections. Congressman Thomas Massie falling to Trump-endorsed challenger Ed Gulrine in a comfortable victory. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the race.
Former Navy SEAL Ed Gulrine thanking President Trump for his endorsement and counsel in his victory speech.
But for the same reason I entered as a Navy SEAL officer in 1983, because I had the audacity to think I could make a difference, and I did. I will serve this district, my party, and my nation with that same audacity to make a difference for them, their families, our district, our party, and our nation. God bless America.
Gulrine winning nearly 55% of the vote compared to 45% for Massie, with over 99% of ballots counted.
Now my focus is on advancing the president's and the party's agenda to put America first and Kentucky always.
Massie's ousting underscores Republican voters' support for President Trump. The Kentucky lawmaker was at odds with the president over several issues. He joined Senator Bill Cassidy and several Indiana state senators who were defeated by primary challengers backed by President Trump in recent weeks. After his loss, Massie said he still had the support of young voters.
I mean, we stirred up something. There is a yearning in this country for somebody who will vote for principles over party.
Massie saying his campaign stayed the course despite the pressures of external forces and ran a clean race.
We didn't bend a knee. We didn't throw a foul ball. We didn't do any of those things. We didn't kneecap anybody. We had lots of opportunities to try a lot of stuff like that, and we never did it.
Massie has voted against U.S. aid to Israel and faced accusations of anti-Semitism. He has denied the charges, arguing that he is generally against all foreign aid. The race drew in millions of dollars against Massie from pro-Israel interest groups, including from the Republican Jewish Coalition Victory Fund. President Trump and Massie have had a contentious political relationship for years. In a May 17th True Social post, Trump said Massie must be thrown out of office. The president criticized Massie as the worst Republican congressman in history and urged people in Kentucky's 4th congressional district to vote for Gulrine.
The guy's a total disaster, and you know who it is? Thomas Massie. He's the worst.
In 2025, Massie voted against Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, arguing that it increased the national debt. Massie also sponsored a war powers resolution in an attempt to tie the administration's hands in Iran. Gulrine will now face Melissa Strange in November's general election. The Cook Political Report rates the district as solidly Republican. And in another Kentucky race, President Trump-backed Representative Andy Barr won his race for Senator Mitch McConnell's seat. Barr thanked President Trump for his trust and confidence, saying he's ready to deliver a major victory for common sense in November. He will now face former Democratic State Representative Charles Booker. The Associated Press called the Republican primary race for Barr at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, an hour after polls closed. Barr won with about 60% of the vote, compared to around 30% for the next closest rival, former Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Aside from Kentucky, 5 other states held primary elections yesterday. President Trump's endorsement also put to the test in Georgia. NTD's Melina Wisecup has the update.
Aside from Kentucky, President Trump's endorsement was also put to the test in the state of Georgia. Notably, losing the state's primary race for governor was the Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who has long battled with the president over election integrity in the state. He trailed his challengers by a long shot. The Trump-endorsed candidate, Georgia's Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, took the lead, but he and billionaire businessman Rick Jackson will have to go to a runoff because neither one of them got 50% of the vote. Whichever Republican wins in June will face the former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms on the Democrat side. As for the Senate Republicans are trying to flip the seat of Democrat Senator John Ossoff, who ran unopposed in his primary. And on the Republican side, a runoff is scheduled for June between former football coach Derek Dooley and Congressman Mike Collins.
The D.C. crowd, Governor Kemp mentioned, they've been attacking me. They didn't want an outsider. They want an insider.
Notably, Georgia experienced election reporting delays last night due to a lockdown at a Fulton County elementary school and technical issues in Cobb County.
At a certain number of Cobb precincts, and it had to do with the way that they imported the voter file for those particular precincts. The import went well in 158 counties and in most of the Cobb counties, but they had an issue with the way they imported the voter file and just completing the process.
And on the Democrat side in Pennsylvania, State Representative and progressive candidate Chris Rabb won the primary in the 3rd District. He was endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America and by several prominent progressives here on Capitol Hill. And in Pennsylvania's 7th District, a swing district, the progressive candidate Bob Brooks emerged from a crowded primary. He's trying to unseat Republican Representative Ryan McKenzie.
The best way to describe it, in short summary, is that there are many Mamdanis popping up all around the country running for Congress as Marxist, openly as socialist, Marxist. And it's a race to the far, far, far left. And as we say all the time, this is not our father's Democratic Party.
And over in Oregon, State Senator Christine Drazen is the Republican that will face current Democrat Governor Tina Kotek, who is seeking a 2nd term in November. Now, while Republicans have not won a governor's race in the state since 1982, they're hopeful that issues like crime, homelessness, and affordability will resonate enough with voters for them to be able to flip a seat that Democrats have held for the past 4 decades. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
2 Georgia Supreme Court justices will remain on the bench after winning re-election yesterday. The Republican-appointed officials defeated challenges from Democratic contenders. Incumbent Justice Sarah Warren won the almost 60% of the vote over challenger Jen Jordan, a former Democratic state senator. Justice Charlie Bethel faced a closer race against attorney Miracle Rankin, retaining his seat on the bench with just 51% of the vote. Former Republican Governor Nathan Deal appointed Warren and Bethel in 2018. Both were reelected in 2020. Another incumbent justice, Ben Land, ran unopposed. Georgia Supreme Court justices serve 6-year terms. Former Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank has died at the age of 86. His former campaign manager and family said he passed away late last night. A Democrat, Frank represented Massachusetts' 4th District, serving in the House of Representatives for 3 decades. Born in 1940 in Bayonne, New Jersey, Frank entered politics in 1968 as an aide to Boston Mayor Kevin White. After winning a seat in the Massachusetts House in 1972, he was elected to Congress in 1980. During his time in the House, Frank helped develop one of the most significant financial reform bills since the New Deal, the Dodd-Frank Act. Frank worked with then Senate Banking Committee Chairman Chris Dodd to craft the legislation in the wake of the 2007-2008 financial crisis. The bill would ultimately enhance consumer protections, impose new capital requirements on banks, and boost the ability of regulators to monitor risk.
I was a young dad of 3 amazing kids. I was finally following my dreams. Just when you feel like life is starting to come together, you get kind of hit in the face. I was born with a congenital heart defect and had open heart surgery as a kid. I was supposed to go to the heart doctor once a year, and I finally went. He listened to my heart, and I'll never forget, he sat back and he said, yeah, it's time for open heart surgery, or you risk your aorta rupturing, and that's it. I was scared out of my mind. The night before my open heart surgery, I made a goodbye video for my kids. Be strong, take care of your mom. I love you guys.
Seeing, all the kids hug him goodbye and hoping that they were going to be able to hug him again.
I love you. But I did make it, thanks to the work of the American Heart Association. So that's why I'm asking you to join me. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help get the next person trained in CPR, get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care, as well as fund the next medical breakthrough, like these heart valves that helped save my life. When you give $19 a month with your credit card, we'll send you this special t-shirt to show you're a part of our community of monthly donors.
I'm most grateful that I get to have a husband that I get to grow old with, and a husband that gets to be there for his children.
I believe without the American Heart Association, I would not be here today. If this can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. Your donation can literally help save a life. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door, absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
Welcome back. Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivering a direct message to the Cuban people today. He says President Trump is offering a new path forward between the U.S. and what he calls a new Cuba.
Hoy, Cuba no está controlada por ninguna revolución. Cuba está controlada por Gaesa, un estado dentro del estado que no rinde cuentas a nadie y acapara las ganancias de sus negocios para beneficios de una pequeña élite. Y el único rol que desempeña el llamado gobierno es exigirle a ustedes que sigan haciendo sacrificios y reprimiendo a cualquiera que se atreva a quejarse. El presidente Trump ofrece una nueva relación entre Estados Unidos y Cuba, pero tiene que ser directamente con ustedes, el pueblo cubano, no con Gaesa. Primero estamos ofreciendo $100 millones en alimentos y medicinas para ustedes, el pueblo, pero tiene que ser distribuido directamente al pueblo cubano por la Iglesia Católica o otros grupos caritativos de confianza, no robados por Gaesa para que lo vendan en sus tiendas.
The comments come as the Trump administration is expected to announce criminal charges against former Cuban President Raul Castro today. The move could mark a step up in Washington's pressure campaign against the country's communist regime. At 1 p.m., the DOJ will hold a press conference honoring victims of 2 planes that were shot down in 1996. In February that year, 3 civilian aircraft operated by a Cuban exile organization departed from the Miami area. They were searching for Cubans attempting to escape the island by raft. Cuban fighter jets shot down 2 of the planes, killing all 4 people aboard. Raul Castro was defense minister at the time. Cuban-American members of Congress were addressing media earlier and making the case for indicting Raul Castro. Here are some clips of what they said. Take a listen.
We expect that the day of justice is finally arriving, and that these individuals, and I want to mention their names again, Mario de la Peña, Pablo Morales, Carlos Costa, and Armando Alejandre, will have their day of justice.
The crimes committed by Raul Castro go much further than what we're possibly hearing those charges unveiled today. The reality is this is a communist regime that has brutally jailed, murdered, beaten its people. They have starved their people. They have stolen from their people. And much of it was at the direction of Raul Castro himself.
The message is for the Castro family. Understand this well, that your days are over. A federal indictment is serious stuff. If not, look at that example. Maduro thought that Trump was fooling, and he was just fooling him, and he was playing around. And President Trump gave him enough time for him to think what to do with his destiny. Look what Maduro did. He thought that President Trump was not serious. And look where Maduro is today, in a federal prison in New York. So we are sending the message to the Castro family. It's time for you to leave.
The House Judiciary Committee is holding a hearing on the Southern Poverty Law Center. The DOJ announced federal charges against the organization last month. It's accused of improperly sending money to informants within extremist groups it says it opposes.
Field source number 37, F-37, coordinated transportation and attended the 2017 rally in Charlottesville. The Southern Poverty Law Center paid him $270,000. $270,000 to the guy who helped put together the event where a young lady was killed. Field source number 9. He got $1 million over 9 years. F unknown. We don't know what number this guy was, but we do know he was the Imperial Wizard of the Klan, whatever that means, and he was on the Southern Poverty Law Center payroll. F-27. Southern Poverty Law Center paid him $300,000 in 6 years, and what did he do? He ran the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club. F-43. He was president of some crazy group, and he was previously convicted of cross burning, but the Southern Poverty Law Center thought he was worth $19,000 of their donors' money. All told, $3 million. $3 million to manufacture hate.
According to the indictment, the SPLC secretly sent more than $3 million in donated funds to organizers of racist groups. They include the Ku Klux Klan, the Aryan Nation, and the National Alliance between 2014 and 2023. The group says its use of paid informants was part of investigative work into extremist groups. It says the program is no longer active and that it saved lives. The hearing features the president of the Family Research Council and former law professor Carol Swain, who said they have been targeted by the SPLC.
Starting in 2009, I became the target of a sustained smear campaign by the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization once respected for fighting real hate, but which I believe has become a weapon against conservatives, Christians, and dissenting voices. In September 2009, I found myself in the SPLC's crosshairs after I published an article in the Huffington Post titled Mission Creep and the Southern Poverty Law Center's Misguided Focus. I argued that the SPLC had drifted from its original mission of monitoring genuine hate groups, such as the KKK and the neo-Nazis, towards targeting mainstream conservatives, immigration reformers, and anyone challenging progressive ideas on race and immigration.
The Southern Poverty Law Center faces 11 counts, including wire fraud and making false statements. The organization responded to the charges, saying they won't be intimidated and will not abandon their mission or the communities they serve. While media outlets in corporate America have relied on the SPLC to track extremist groups with its hate map, the organization has also designated mainstream conservative groups such as the Family Research Council, Moms for Liberty, and Turning Point USA as extremist or hate groups. Turning Point was founded by Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated last year. The Justice Department is launching a 15-city national tour aimed at combating anti-Semitism across the U.S. The initiative will be led by the DOJ's Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism, chaired by Leo Terrell. The DOJ says the campaign will encourage reporting of anti-Semitic incidents and strengthen coordination between law enforcement and Jewish communities. The effort will also focus on building interfaith partnerships and addressing anti-Semitism in K-12 schools. According to the Anti-Defamation League, the U.S. recorded more than 6,200 anti-Semitic incidents last year. The Justice Department says the nationwide effort reflects President Trump's campaign to confront anti-Semitism during his second term. The Department of Justice has launched a federal investigation into Washington State's policy of housing male inmates in women's prisons. The DOJ citing potential violations of female prisoners' constitutional rights. The department says it notified Governor Bob Ferguson of the probe into alleged violations at the Washington Corrections Center for Women in Gig Harbor. The investigation centers on allegations the facility has failed to protect female inmates. There are accusations of sexual assault, rape, voyeurism, and intimidation by male inmates who say they identify as female. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon says the policy could violate the 8th Amendment protection against cruel and unusual punishment. Washington adopted its policy in 2020. It allows male inmates who say they identify as women to request transfer to female prisons. The European Union approves a tariff deal with the United States. It caps duties on most EU exports at 15%. The move was aimed at avoiding a direct clash with President Trump ahead of his July 4th deadline.
Perhaps you know that I'm really a fan of classic rock music, and one of my favorite songs from the Rolling Stone is You Can't Always Get What You Want. But if you try, you will get what you need. And indeed, we got what we need. We need a safety net in the relation with the United States.
The agreement follows months of tense negotiations between Washington and Brussels over the future of transatlantic trade. EU lawmakers had warned they could block the deal amid fierce internal debate across the 27-member bloc. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen originally struck the outline agreement with President Trump last July in Scotland. The deal sets a 15% tariff cap on most European exports, while tariffs on U.S. industrial goods will fall to 0. If you have any feedback on the show or something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at news.today@ntd.com. And for round-the-clock original news coverage, watch us live at ntd.com/TV or download our NTD app. I'm Kevin Hogan. Thanks for watching.
Tired of struggling with that heavy leaf blower? Introducing the Bullseye Power Blower. It delivers a massive blowing force, and yet it's so compact and lightweight. Just lock and load the rechargeable battery for long-lasting runtime. The secret is the compact turbocharged motor with jet burst technology that blasts out 21,000 RPMs of airflow. Watch this. The sheer force propels this woman across the pool. Look, use Bullseye to blow up a huge jump house. Now that's power. Even blows snow right off your vehicle in no time. Turbo clean your porch in a flash, or tidy up your dirty garage floor in seconds. Get it today for just $99.99. But wait, act now and get a $20 discount. So it's only $79.99. Plus, you'll get the adjustable extension tube. Yours free. And it all comes with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-209-2313 or go to bullseyeblower.com. That's 1-800-209-2313 or order online at bullseyeblower.com. Order now.
I was a young dad of 3 amazing kids. I was finally following my dreams. Just when you feel like life is starting to come together, you get kind of hit in the face. I was born with a congenital heart defect and had open heart surgery as a kid. I was supposed to go to the heart doctor once a year, and I finally went. He listened to my heart, and I'll never forget, he sat back and he said, yeah, it's time for open heart surgery, or you risk your aorta rupturing, and that's it. I was scared out of my mind. The night before my open heart surgery, I made a goodbye video for my kids. Be strong, take care of your mom. I love you guys.
Seeing, all the kids hug him goodbye and hoping that they were going to be able to hug him again.
I love you. But I did make it, thanks to the work of the American Heart Association. So that's why I'm asking you to join me. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help get the next person trained in CPR, get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care, as well as fund the next medical breakthrough like these heart valves that helped save my life. When you give $19 a month with your credit card, we'll send you this special t-shirt to show you're a part of our community of monthly donors.
I'm most grateful that I get to have a husband that I get to grow old with, and a husband that gets to be there for his children.
I believe without the American Heart Association, I would not be here today. If this can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. Your donation can literally help save a life. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor.
Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. President Trump's endorsement power tested again. Congressman Thomas Massie falls to a Trump-backed challenger in Kentucky. And a big endorsement ahead of next week's runoff in Texas. Details on the high-stakes primaries. Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivering a direct message to the Cuban people today as the Trump administration moves toward criminal charges against former Cuban President Raul Castro. The Southern Poverty Law Center under scrutiny in Congress. Takeaways from a House committee hearing after the organization was indicted on federal charges.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Wednesday, May 20th. I'm Kevin Hogan. President Trump saying today that he will speak with Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te. A conversation between Trump and Lai would be a significant diplomatic development. U.S. and Taiwanese presidents have not spoken directly since Washington shifted diplomatic recognition to Beijing from Taipei in 1979. Here's the president addressing that and the Iran peace deal before heading to New London, Connecticut. Take a listen.
Mr. President, are you going to Taiwan? Do you have any plans to call President Lai before you make your decision on the arms deal?
What?
Do you have any plans to call President Lai of Taiwan before you make a decision on the weapons package?
Well, I'll speak to him. I speak to everybody. We have that situation very well in hand. We had a great meeting with President Xi. It was amazing, actually. It was amazing. Many of you were there. We'll work on that, the Taiwan problem.
What do you make of President Xi meeting with Putin this week?
Well, he told me he was going to. I think it's good. I get along with both of them, but I think it's good. I don't know if the ceremony is quite as brilliant as mine. I watched. I think we topped them. Good team. But no, I get along with Putin. I get along with everybody but your husband and a few others.
On the Iran deal, would you be open to a limited deal that just covered the Strait of Hormuz?
What does that mean?
On Iran, just a limited deal just for a longer ceasefire?
We would have to open the strait. That would open immediately. So we're going to give this one shot. I'm in no hurry. You never think, oh, the midterms, I'm in a hurry. I'm in no hurry. Ideally, I'd like to see few people killed as opposed to a lot. We can do it either way, but I'd like to see few people killed. I just wonder whether or not they have the good of the people, because some of the things they're doing to me means they don't have the good of the people, and they have to have the good of the people. There's a lot of anger now in Iran because people are living so badly. There's a lot of foment that we haven't seen before so much, and we'll see what happens.
What have you said to Prime Minister Netanyahu about Iran and how long to hold off on strike?
He's fine. He'll do whatever I want him to do. He's a very, very good man. He'll do whatever I want him to do, and he's a great guy. To me, he's a great guy. Don't forget, he was a wartime prime minister, and he's not treated right in Israel, in my opinion. I'm right now at 99% in Israel. I could run for prime minister, so maybe after I do this, I'll go to Israel, run for prime minister. I had a poll this morning. I'm 99%, so that's good. But no, he's a wartime prime minister, and I just don't think they treat him well. I think they have a president over there that treats him very poorly. And
you're on the same page with them on Iran?
Yeah. We won all races last night, every one of them. And we have a great candidate, I believe, in Texas. And I believe the Texas candidate, who's Ken Paxton, I think he'll win. I think probably he'll win very substantially. And I think he'll go on to defeat a very defective candidate, a candidate that believes in 6 genders, and he takes hits at Jesus Christ, and He's wearing a mask 6 months ago. Where's a guy? Anybody wearing a mask 6 months ago doesn't get it. And he's a vegan. He's a vegan in Texas, and you can't get elected as a vegan in Texas.
The influence of President Trump continues to impact major elections. Congressman Thomas Massie falling to Trump-endorsed challenger Ed Galrine in a comfortable victory. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the race.
Former Navy SEAL Ed Galrine thanking President Trump for his endorsement and counsel in his victory speech.
But for the same reason I entered as a Navy SEAL officer in 1983, because I had the audacity to think I could make a difference, and I did. I will serve this district, my party, and my nation with that same audacity to make a difference for them, their families, our district, our party, and our nation. God bless America.
Galrine winning nearly 55% of the vote compared to 45% for Massie, with over 99% of ballots counted.
Now my focus is on advancing the president's and the party's agenda to put America first and Kentucky always.
Massie's ousting underscores Republican voters' support for President Trump. The Kentucky lawmaker was at odds with the president over several issues. He joined Senator Bill Cassidy and several Indiana state senators who were defeated by primary challengers backed by President Trump in recent weeks. After his loss, Massie said he still had the support of young voters.
I mean, we stirred up something. There is a yearning in this country for somebody who will vote for principles over party.
Massie saying his campaign stayed the course despite the pressures of external forces and ran a clean race.
We didn't bend a knee. We didn't throw a foul ball. We didn't do any of those things. We didn't kneecap anybody. We had lots of opportunities to try a lot of stuff like that, and we never did it.
Massie has voted against U.S. aid to Israel and faced accusations of anti-Semitism. He has denied the charges, arguing that he is generally against all foreign aid. The race drew in millions of dollars against Massie from pro-Israel interest groups, including from the Republican Jewish Coalition Victory Fund. President Trump and Massie have had a contentious political relationship for years. In a May 17th Truth Social post, Trump said Massie must be thrown out of office. The president criticized Massie as the worst Republican congressman in history and urged people in Kentucky's 4th Congressional District to vote for Galrine.
The guy's a total disaster, and you know who it is? Thomas Massie. He's the worst.
In 2025, Massie voted against Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, arguing that it increased the national debt. Massie also sponsored a war powers resolution in an attempt to tie the administration's hands in Iran. Galrine will now face Melissa Strange in November's general election. The Cook Political Report rates the district as solidly Republican. And in another Kentucky race, President Trump-backed Representative Andy Barr won his race for Senator Mitch McConnell's seat. Barr thanked President Trump for his trust and confidence, saying he's ready to deliver a major victory for common sense in November. He will now face former Democratic State Representative Charles Booker. The Associated Press called the Republican primary race for Barr at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, an hour after polls closed. Barr won with about 60% of the vote, compared to around 30% for the next closest rival, former Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Aside from Kentucky, 5 other states held primary elections yesterday. President Trump's endorsement also put to the test in Georgia. NTD's Melina Wisecup has the update.
Aside from Kentucky, President Trump's endorsement was also put to the test in the state of Georgia. Notably, losing the state's primary race for governor was the Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who has long battled with the president over election integrity in the state. He trailed his challengers by a long shot. The Trump-endorsed candidate, Georgia's Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, took the lead, but he and billionaire businessman Rick Jackson will have to go to a runoff because neither one of them got 50% of the vote. Whichever Republican wins in June will face the former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms on the Democrat side. As for the Senate, Republicans are trying to flip the seat of Democrat Senator John Ossoff, who ran unopposed in his primary. And on the Republican side, a runoff is scheduled for June between former football coach Derek Dooley and Congressman Mike Collins.
The D.C. crowd, Governor Kemp mentioned, they've been attacking me. They didn't want an outsider. They want an insider.
Notably, Georgia experienced election reporting delays last night due to a lockdown at a Fulton County elementary school and technical issues in Cobb County.
At a certain number of Cobb precincts, and it had to do with the way that they imported the voter file for those particular precincts. The import went well in 158 counties and in most of the Cobb counties, but they had an issue with the way they imported the voter file and just completing the process.
And on the Democrat side in Pennsylvania, State Representative and progressive candidate Chris Rabb won the primary in the 3rd district. He was endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America and by several prominent progressives here on Capitol Hill. And in Pennsylvania's 7th district, a swing district, the progressive candidate Bob Brooks emerged from a crowded primary. He's trying to unseat Republican Representative Ryan McKenzie.
The best way to describe it, in short summary, is that there are many Mamdanis popping up all around the country running for Congress as Marxist, openly as socialist Marxist. And it's a race to the far, far, far left. And as we say all the time, this is not our father's Democratic Party.
And over in Oregon, State Senator Christine Drazen is the Republican that will face current Democrat Governor Tina Kotek, who is seeking a 2nd term in November. Now, while Republicans have not won a governor's race in the state since 1982, they're hopeful that issues like crime, homelessness, and affordability will resonate enough with voters for them to be able to flip a seat that Democrats have held for the past 4 decades. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
2 Georgia Supreme Court justices will remain on the bench after winning re-election yesterday. The Republican-appointed officials defeated challenges from Democratic contenders. Incumbent Justice Sarah Warren won the almost 60% of the vote over challenger Jen Jordan, a former Democratic state senator. Justice Charlie Bethel faced a closer race against attorney Miracle Rankin, retaining his seat on the bench with just 51% of the vote. Former Republican Governor Nathan Deal appointed Warren and Bethel in 2018. Both were reelected in 2020. Another incumbent justice, Ben Land, ran unopposed. Georgia Supreme Court justices serve 6-year terms. Former Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank has died at the age of 86. His former campaign manager and family said he passed away late last night. A Democrat, Frank represented Massachusetts' 4th district, serving in the House of Representatives for 3 decades. Born in 1940 in Bayonne, New Jersey, Frank entered politics in 1968 as an aide to Boston Mayor Kevin White. After winning a seat in the Massachusetts House in 1972, he was elected to Congress in 1980. During his time in the House, Frank helped develop one of the most significant financial reform bills since the New Deal, the Dodd-Frank Act. Frank worked with then Senate Banking Committee Chairman Chris Dodd to craft the legislation in the wake of the 2007-2008 financial crisis. The bill would ultimately enhance consumer protections, impose new capital requirements on banks, and boost the ability of regulators to monitor risk.
This is how I keep my joints happy.
Omega XL is a powerful natural supplement backed by 40 years of clinical research. Take control of your pain, like Cynthia Bailey.
My knees in particular started giving me pain issues all the way back to my modeling days, from just running through airports, photo shoots. After taking Omega XL, I really started to notice how less stiff I was, especially my knees and my hip. Has Omega XL changed my life? Yes. I barely notice my joint pain anymore. Now I'm like literally sprinting through the airports. My secret is Omega XL.
Pick up the phone and call now to get this exclusive TV offer. Buy 1 Omega XL and we'll send you a 2nd bottle absolutely free. You'll also get a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. Buy 1, get 2 free. A total value of over $115, all for just $49.95. You save more than 55% and shipping is free. Backed by a money-back guarantee and is not available in stores. Operators are standing by, so call now.
Today's seniors are enjoying life more than ever before, and part of that comes from the independence of driving.
However, car insurance for older drivers becomes more expensive the older we get.
Just because I'm a senior, and maybe you are too, do we really have to pay outrageously high insurance rates? Well, the answer is no, we don't.
When was the last time you checked to make sure you're paying the lowest available rate? Well, maybe it's time to give your car insurance a tune-up, just to make sure your rates are running properly.
You change your oil, you change your tires. Well, maybe it's time to change your car's insurance company.
Are you paying too much for your auto insurance? If so, you're just throwing your money away.
So the only way to really know if you're paying too much is to call the number on your screen.
1-800-952-5196. 1-800-952-5196.
You'll speak with a licensed insurance agent. They may have an insurance plan that could lower your yearly premiums by hundreds of dollars.
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
Come on, call now.
You may be able to save a lot of money, maybe hundreds of dollars a year. Just call the number on your screen and speak with a licensed insurance agent.
Yes, it is possible for seniors to save on car insurance. You could lower your premiums by hundreds of dollars a year.
As a responsible driver, you always check your gauges, right? And you check for other cars and pedestrians. You check your oil and you check your mirrors.
Well, now is the time to check on your auto insurance rates. You need to make sure that you're not paying more than you need to. Call the number on your screen right now.
1-800-952-5196. 1-800-952-5196.
Whose lives were tragically lost in this pursuit of freedom. This ceremony is deeply significant because we stand here at the Freedom Tower, our Freedom Tower, a place that represents refuge, resilience, and enduring hope for those who came to America seeking liberty after fleeing a tyranny and oppression in Cuba. So many of our parents, our uncles and aunts, walked through these doors, 400,000 of them, looking for hope and opportunity. Today is their day. For generations of Cuban exiles, this building became more than a processing center. It became a symbol that freedom was still possible, a symbol that democracy, human dignity, and human rights matter. Today, we remember the 4 brave men of the Brothers to the Rescue, whose lives were taken on February 24th, 1996. Not in war, but during a humanitarian mission rooted in compassion and in courage. Their sacrifice became a painful reminder to the world of the brutality of the Cuban regime and the high price so many have paid for speaking freely, defending democracy, and standing for human rights. We also recognize the countless victims who have suffered under the Cuban regime across generations, prisoners, families separated by exile, those silenced for dissidence, and all who have endured persecution, all in the pursuit of freedom and dignity. Their stories, our stories, are part of the larger story of Cuba, but also the part of the story of Miami and this Freedom Tower itself. As we gather today, may we honor the memory of those not only with reflection, but with renewed commitment to truth, to justice, and to the preservation of the democratic values for future generations. Thank you for being here today for this important commemoration. May God bless each of you, and may God bless the United States of America. And to our brothers and sisters in Cuba, we hear you. Freedom will come. Cuba will be libre. It is now my distinct honor, representing all of you, to introduce the United States Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be here in the great state of Florida. Today, we are announcing an indictment charging Raul Castro
and several others with conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals. Mr. Castro and the others are charged with additional crimes as well, including destruction of aircraft and 4 individual counts of murder. The indictment was returned by a grand jury sitting in this district in Miami on April 23rd, 2026, and was unsealed today. For nearly 30 years, the families of 4 murdered Americans have waited for justice. On February, this is a story all too familiar. On February 24th, 1996, 2 civilian aircraft operated by Brothers to the Rescue were shot down over international waters by military aircraft from Cuba. 4 men were killed: Carlos Costa, Armando Alejandre Jr., Mario de la Peña, and Pablo Morales. They were unarmed civilians and were flying humanitarian missions for the rescue and protection of people fleeing oppression across the Florida Straits. As alleged in the indictment, Raul Castro and 5 co-defendants participated in a conspiracy that ended with Cuban military aircraft firing missiles at those civilian planes and killing 4 Americans. Those are the allegations returned by a federal grand jury. My message today is clear. The United States and President Trump does not and will not forget its citizens. I want to say that we also do not forget the families, the loved ones, and the friends who have carried grief and heartache for 30 years. For the first time in nearly 70 years, senior leadership of the Cuban regime has been charged in this country, in the United States of America, for acts of violence resulting in the deaths of American citizens. Nations and their leaders cannot be permitted to target Americans, kill them, and not face accountability. President Trump is committed to restoring a very simple but important principle. If you kill Americans, we will pursue you, no matter who you are, no matter what title you hold, and in this case, no matter how much time has passed. I want to thank, and everybody in this room should thank, the FBI, the prosecutors, and the agents who worked on this matter. It includes the intelligence community and our federal and state law enforcement partners. They did the work here, so thank you. There's a reason why myself and the senator and other leadership are here and not in Washington, D.C. to announce this indictment. The community here, you all, understands the history of the Cuban regime better than anyone in America. Many families here know the cost of oppression. I've heard stories over the past week and past months, every one of them heartbreaking. They know that the pain caused by the regime did not stop at the island's shores. And today's indictment, while it does not bring back the murdered victims, it makes a statement. The United States government has not forgotten these innocent men who were shot out of the sky. And as in every criminal case, the defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty by a jury of their peers. But today, the Department of Justice has taken an important step and brought this indictment. I'm proud to stand here on this podium with U.S. Attorney Jason Redding Quinones to my right, Chris Rea, Deputy Director of the FBI. You're gonna get to clap. You're gonna get to clap for Jason in 20 seconds. Chris Rea, Deputy Director of the FBI, and James Utheimer, the Attorney General of this great state. And your great U.S. Senator is here as well. She's very busy in D.C., but wouldn't miss this for the world. So thank you for being here, Senator Moody. So I want to thank Jason for his leadership down here in Florida. He's doing a great job beyond today, and I'd also ask him to replace me at the podium to say a few words. So thank you, Jason, very much.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. It may sound a little repetitive, some of the things we're saying, but they're worthy of saying twice, 3 times, 100 times. So bear with us. For nearly 70 years, the communist Cuban regime has acted with impunity in its systematic repression of its people. And for the last 30 years, this regime's senior leadership has gone unchallenged for its murder of 4 Americans. Today, the United States announces a historic indictment charging Raul Castro and 5 co-defendants for their roles in the February 24th, 1996 shootdown of 2 brothers to the rescue. A Miami grand jury has charged these defendants with conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals, destruction of aircraft, and 4 counts of murder. The victims were 4 unarmed civilian pilots engaged in humanitarian work: Carlos Costa, Armando Alejandre Jr., Mario de la Peña, and Pablo Morales. They were not combatants, they were not armed, and they posed no threat. According to the indictment, Raul Castro, then Minister of the Cuban Revolutionary Armed Forces, authorized and oversaw a military chain of command that ended with Cuban fighter jets firing air-to-air missiles at civilian aircraft over international waters. Those missiles destroyed the planes without warning and killed all aboard. For 30 years, the families have waited. The Miami community has waited, and our country has waited. Today is a step towards accountability. This is the first time in almost 70 years that a senior leadership of the Cuban regime has been charged in the United States for acts of violence resulting in the death of Americans. The passage of time does not erase murder. It does not diminish the value of those lives, and it does not weaken our commitment to the rule of law. Standing here in the Freedom Tower gives this moment added meaning. This is the Ellis Island for Cuban refugees. It was the main processing center for countless exiles who fled communist Cuba with the hopes of reaching the American dream. My own mother spent her first night in the United States in this very building. After fleeing brutal communist Cuba, like so many families in Miami, mine understands what it means to arrive here with little more than hope and a chance to rebuild under the protection of American law. That history reminds me of the duty we carry, a duty to seek justice for victims, a duty to stand with families who have carried this pain for decades, and a duty to make it clear that those who kill Americans cannot Simply wait out American justice. Today's date, May 20th, also carries deep meaning for the Cuban people. It is their 4th of July. It marks Cuba's independence from colonial Spain. It reminds us that the pursuit of freedom, dignity, and accountability spans generations and still lives alive and well in the heart of the Cuban community. Today's indictment is one part of that long effort. When I came into office in August of last year, I made reviving this case a priority. And I want to thank the team that made it happen. My first assistant, U.S. Attorney Yara Lorenzo Kalukas. And my assistant United States Attorneys, Abby Waxman and Mike Gilfard. In conjunction with FBI Miami's Cuba squad, which we're not going to name or show their faces, for their commitment and drive to seeing this case through. It's incredible work. I also want to thank Mr. Attorney General for his incredible support and steady leadership of the department. And before I conclude, I also want to acknowledge the assistance of Florida Attorney General's office. Attorney General James Upmeyer and his team have been strong partners in this effort. Their support reflects the best of federal and state law enforcement working together in service of justice. With that, I turn the podium over to FBI's Deputy Director, Chris Rea. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin, I specifically want to thank the Attorney General and, of course, the U.S. Attorney here for allowing me to speak to you all today. And I also want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to showcase the small part that the FBI played. As was stated, today marks a significant moment in a long, long journey for justice. A journey that began 30 years ago with an unprovoked attack on American lives. 4 humanitarians were on a noble mission to help those fleeing oppression. Instead, their lives were violently taken in a reckless act by the Cuban regime. The FBI, the Department of Justice, and countless others never forgot them, and we never stopped hunting for the truth. Today's announcement shows that if it's 5 months, 5 years, 5 decades, we will keep pursuing you, and we'll keep pursuing anyone who intends to harm our citizens, and they will face American justice. I'd like to thank our dedicated special agents, our dedicated prosecutors, our dedicated intelligence analysts, and our dedicated professional staff, as well as our counterintelligence program, for never giving up. Enormous credit is due to the many teams across the 16 different FBI cases regarding this matter. The teams who have worked to hold members of the Cuban government's WASP network accountable. Our people have systematically and relentlessly searched for evidence, conducted countless interviews, and pieced together critical intelligence for nearly 3 decades. They turned dead ends into fresh leads. And over the years, that hard work has paid off with convictions of multiple operatives for activities related to that vicious shootdown. The charges we announced today are only the latest milestone on that road to justice, a road paved with persistence, partnership, and extreme resolve. To anyone who spies on our country or harms our citizens, know this: the FBI, the Department of Justice, has a long memory. We will come after you, and we will find you. As I close, I'd like to close with a personal anecdote, as this is deeply personal to me. You see, I was a former member of the United States Coast Guard right here in Miami Beach in Key West, Florida in the 1990s. I conducted numerous humanitarian missions with my fellow Coast Guardsmen, rescuing Cuban citizens who were just trying to find a better life. I also was fortunate enough to act as security during remembrance ceremonies held at the 12 nautical mile limit just outside of Cuban territorial waters. I served on Coast Guard cutters that provided the security to the friends and family who were just trying to remember their lost loved ones. So for me, today brings everything full circle. So in that vein, we dedicate all 3 decades of casework to the memories of the loved ones lost that day. To the victims' families and friends, we stand with you as we hold those responsibilities to account. Now, I'm going to turn it over to the U.S. Senator of this great state, Senator Moody. Thank you.
What a day. What a day. 3 months ago, I joined you on the anniversary to mark the killing of Carlos, Armando, Mario, Pablo, and I said it was not a cold case. It was never a cold case. It was never a whodunit. We always knew who was responsible for the killing of those young men. That was 3 months ago. And I am so proud to join you today to say we're finally bringing justice to those families, and not just those families. Everyone sitting here today for the past 30 years who have kept this case hot, who have met with me as the Attorney General, who repeatedly met with law enforcement, who repeatedly met with leaders, so many who came together and kept that case hot, like those that are no longer with us, like Lincoln Diaz-Balart. He would be right here in the front row today. They kept it hot. And just 3 months later, we are standing here on this important day when Cuba became a free state, a free people, to say we are living up to bringing accountability to the Castros and the regime that stole that independence. That's what we're doing today. It's an honor to be here today with our acting Attorney General Todd Blanche as the indictment is unsealed against others, but particularly against Raul Castro for his role in the Brothers to the Rescue murders. This moment has been decades in the making, and I want to thank all of the lawyers who read over all of the trial transcripts, the weeks and weeks of trial transcripts that put back together every piece of evidence and waited for that last piece of evidence to come into view and into your possession, and never gave up. And never gave up. For so many Cuban families, they know you can never become complacent in defending liberty, in fighting for freedom. And Florida is the symbolism of fighting for freedom. We're in the beating heartbeat of that for this nation. So I thank you. Thank you for being here today and remembering what it's like to hold tyrants accountable. And it is why I applaud the Department of Justice for bringing these charges. You know, previous administrations, as those of you met with leadership, reminded them of 30 years ago what happened, previous administrations would release the one person we convicted related to it. Maybe even go down there and go to a baseball game. The last administration decided we were going to, I don't know, relax our banking restrictions or whatever. Maybe coddle them into freedom. But not this administration. They took the bold step of actually bringing accountability and understanding that accountability works. So we thank President Trump for recognizing that, for being brave and bringing justice for these 4 men, for their families, and indeed for freedom. And I want to tell you, when Governor DeSantis appointed me to be your newest United States Senator, he did so and said, I want you to take everything you know about this state, every person you've met with, everything you've learned, every battle you fought to make Florida what it is, take that to Washington and let's get things done. And I am so proud to be here today to say we got things done. And so on today, May 20th, on the day that Cuba became a free and independent state, I would like to end my visit with you by reading the following. And it is a penalty sheet in the Southern District of Florida, United States District Court, advising that Raul Castro will face count 1, conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals, facing a maximum term of imprisonment of life imprisonment. Counts 2 and 3, destruction of aircraft, facing a maximum term of imprisonment on each count of up to 5 years in prison. And counts 4 through 7, the charges of murder, facing a maximum term of imprisonment on each count of death or life imprisonment. God bless you. God bless this great free state of Florida and our United States of America.
Good morning. It's an honor to be here and support Attorney General Blanche, Senator Moody, and your great United States Attorney, Jason Redding Quinones. Communist revolution always begins with the same utopian lie, a classless, stateless paradise of abundance and freedom. But we know the reality. In reality, there is no abundance, nor freedom. Rather, it obstructs individual personal property rights, suffocates merit, and centralizes total power in the hands of tyrants. We've seen what communism has brought us. Over 100 million people that have lost their lives, engineered famines, and the total destruction of human liberty. Just 90 miles from our Florida shorelines, the Castro family has ruled the island with an iron fist. For nearly 50 years, Raul Castro directed the armed forces and served as chief enforcer. The very man who traded the promise of revolution for a prison state. And under his command and to this day, Cuba remains a dungeon. Political dissidents are ripped from their homes at night under fabricated charges. They're dragged through the streets, beaten, and imprisoned for decades. I know this pain is all too real for many of you in this room. The people have long suffered because of that communist regime. And today that hits very close to home here in the Freedom Tower with the brothers to the rescue. Raul Castro ordered those fighter jets to shoot down unarmed civilian aircraft. It was not an accident. It was intentional, premeditated, state-sanctioned murder. And their criminal conspiracy violated Florida's sovereignty. They embedded spies here in Miami and across jurisdictions down into the Florida Keys, revealing the intelligence that would put these civilian aircraft in the crosshairs. And yet for too long, leaders in Washington looked the other way. They sat by idly. They even attended baseball games with the very man that directed the murders. Not anymore. We're blessed to have a president, Donald J. Trump,
If you have any feedback on the show or something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at news.today@ntd.com. And for round-the-clock original news coverage, watch us live at ntd.com/TV or download our NTD app. I'm Kevin Hogan. Thanks for watching.